Football.
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 Hey, hello. It's me, Pablo, here to football. You love that slightly cliched chant that I, as an American, am contractually obligated to also say. Football. I'm interrupting this because I am gonna join the show, I think, to talk about a new, now not so secret episode of my show in our new partnership with The Athletic. That's coming up soon. So find out, you know, right? Okay.
I have a journalistic judgment question to ask the group. Should we start with Pablo Torre dropping at 5 a.m., a Pablo drop that I suspect will be the biggest story in sports once all the editors and writers wake up and start chasing what Pablo is reporting? Or should we talk about how Greg and Billy both think that the Dolphins have a must-win game this weekend?
Oh, must win?
A must-win. Billy and Greg.
And Big Mac, just so that we're not making it seem like we're two kooks that think that.
Must win, they have said.
Yes.
Week one. It seems a truly asinine thing to say. You want to explain it to me?
I would love to, yeah. And I say it in the context of how it would seem to be so asinine, because I hate it when people use the word must win when it isn't literally a must win.
And it's two words.
Yeah, the only time it applies really is a Game 7 in the finals or something like that. But I will say this. Expectations are so low for the Dolphins, particularly relative to the Hurricanes, but in general, expectations are low. Not expected to be a playoff team. Indianapolis is not very good, okay? Indianapolis is a team they can beat, dare say should beat, even on the road. And so I just think if the Dolphins lose this game Sunday, their whole season sags right out the gate. I think they need this win in a big way just to entice the fans, just to get the fans a little bit excited, which they're not right now.
The Pablo Torre
back
story,
to football.
though.
So he's exactly
that's a
right.
big story,
Here's
too.
the problem: is that some people, Greg, and I don't. Dan seems to be one of these people. Don't seem to understand every game counts exactly the same.
Yes.
So if this game was being played week 17, you say that's a big game. That's a must-win. They got to win this. But they're playing that game week 1. So you got to win the Indianapolis game. Daniel Jones is their quarterback.
Yes.
If you can't be Daniel Jones,
I'm
you
scared
have
of
no
Daniel
business.
Jones.
Oh,
The Colts
God.
overcame the fact that they had a quarterback playing for them who didn't know how to play quarterback, who had started like all of 15 games in college and the pros and would appear to be something of a bust.
Yeah, like, are we forgetting? Like, I understand what you're saying. The Colts, they're not very good. The Dolphins and Colts both won 8 games last year.
Yeah.
Like, the Colts are definitely looking at the Dolphins with the exact same mindset. If we don't beat that team,
Right.
our season's sunk too.
He gets it.
Like, it felt good when they announced Daniel Jones. So it's like, nice, Daniel Jones sucks.
Right.
He's better than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, arguably.
No, he's better than. No, what do you mean arguably, Greg?
Daniel Jones is a bust.
Uh-huh.
Nobody likes Daniel Jones.
Greg,
Greg
and a playoff
gets it.
game.
Giants
He won a
certainly didn't.
playoff game. Anthony Richardson started 15 games, made about 7 good throws, got hurt a bunch.
Some great throws, though.
And doesn't know how to play quarterback because he doesn't have the reps of having played quarterback. Like, that's Daniel Jones knows how to play quarterback. The Colts have to be at least a 3-point favorite in the game, are they not?
1.5.
One and a
One and a
half?
half, which means the bettors think Miami's a slightly better team. If they're going to be beaten, it's going to be by Jonathan Taylor, not Daniel Jones.
No. If the Colts are at home and a 1.5-point favorite, I understand what you're saying, that 3 points go to the home team. But if
Right.
the Colts are favored, the money is saying that the Colts are going to win the game. They're favored to win the game.
But you know how odds go.
I do, but the
Okay.
Dolphins are on the road. This is not a home team.
Right.
This is not the better team playing at home that is the Dolphins. This
Right.
is the better team being the Colts because they're at home.
In Dan's defense, it's weird for you to hear the line and say, well, that suggests that the Dolphins are 3 points better. I don't understand how no, the line suggests that the Colts are 1.5 points
Well,
better.
which means the Dolphins are 1.5 points better on
Yeah.
a neutral field.
You guys don't
That's
get
all
it.
I'm
I get what
saying.
he's saying though, because usually the home team gets a -3, and then
Thank
all of
you.
a sudden it's a
There's a-
+1.5.
Thank you.
There's
There's
some
only
math fair.
One
go.
game that gets played in that league on a neutral field, and it's the last one.
So the
no.
Dolphins and Colts
Well,
were in
actually,
the Super
London
Bowl.
Bowl.
No,
Sorry,
no,
Europe.
no,
There's a
Friday.
Brazil
There's
game.
one
Brazil, South
Friday.
Friday.
The NFL starts Friday with
My
a
bad,
game
right.
on a neutral field.
Thursday starts Thursday then.
Tricky league.
It
this.
starts tomorrow?
Yeah, football
Yeah, but
starts
tomorrow.
But
Yeah.
the Brazil
You didn't know
game.
this?
No, I
the
thought it
Brazil,
started
Man,
Friday.
we've got the
but
Eagles
Brazil,
and
Get your head out of
Cowboys,
Pablo's
Dan.
ass already.
The Brazil game is Friday, to Dan's point.
Hold on a
Cowboys,
second.
Eagles.
Would tomorrow night have been going on and you wouldn't have been watching?
Well, Friday night would have been going on, and I wouldn't have been watching because I didn't know until yesterday when it scrolled across on YouTube. I'm like, wait a minute, there's a game Friday night as well.
Brazil?
I was not aware of
a couple
that.
high-profile teams playing tomorrow night.
Yeah, I just
Super Bowl
heard now.
champions,
I
yeah.
heard.
Big game.
That's thank you for
Ever heard of
informing me.
kickoff?
Yeah, game of the year.
Must win, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Figuratively.
we're gonna take your word
Figuratively.
for it. You didn't even know the season started tomorrow. What do you know?
Right.
How are Dolphin fans going to feel about their season if they lose that game? They're going to feel like it's over. So
ugly.
that's why it's a
Ugly. It'll be
Big
ugly.
game.
Oh,
Be
but
ugly.
wait a minute though. The Colts fans, how they gonna feel?
Who cares about Colts
if
fans?
they lose that game?
They're not
Because
people.
Colts fans are looking at that and saying that the Dolphins are an eminently beatable football team. That is ripe for total collapse. I know a big deal was made a few days ago that they didn't make Tyreek Hill a captain, which was only the easiest and most obvious decision that Mike McDaniel has made since he's been coach of the Dolphins.
No, falsehoods. That was a sign that Tyreek Hill actually is a captain. And we talked about this weeks ago. And we said the captains are going to come out. And Tyreek has been someone that, is at odds with his teammates. He's been named a captain for years now. And if he's named a captain, we know he's not a captain because he accepted that role. However, if he's not a captain, it shows he's a true leader and he says, you know what, I'm going to step down, I'm going to take a step back, and he's really a true captain and a leader on this team by not accepting the label of captain.
What the hell are you talking about?
No, he's right.
It shows growth and leadership and maturity.
Okay. It's very important to note that Mike McDaniel does not pick the captains. It's a team vote. It's a player vote. I think it's very significant that the players themselves demoted Tyreek Hill because they were fed up with him refusing to go in a game late last season and then making all these uncaptain-like, unleadership-like moves on social media before finally retracting with his tail between his legs. He, as Tua said, and I give Tua credit for this, on opening day of training camp, Tua comes out and says Tyreek has to earn back the respect of the team. And apparently he hadn't when they voted for captains. I think it's a big deal.
I'm going to have to side with Billy here.
Thank you.
They probably all got gathered in the locker room, and Tyreek Hill probably stepped forward and said, guys, I shouldn't be captain, which is a true captain.
It could be.
move.
It could be.
Leadership move.
Nonsense.
Good correction there. I thought that Mike McDaniel had made that decision. The players making that decision
Guy doesn't
is-
make any decisions.
is a fairly
Teams run
obvious
amok.
decision.
Isn't it one of those things, though, where all the votes go to Mike McDaniel? So he's sitting in the office counting the votes. I mean, he can kind of say
Whoa.
whatever
Chris
he wants.
Cody finds out.
Write-in ballots.
Voter fraud and Dolphins captain election.
Nothing stopping them.
Put it on the poll, please.
Now players are going up to Tyreek like, hey, man, I voted for you. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I'm a leader. I don't need this, guys. I think for the betterment of the team, you guys be the captains this year.
Put it on
silly.
the poll, please, at your leisure, at LeBatard Show. Did the Dolphins players make Tyreek Hill the captain, and did Mike McDaniel then jerry-rig the vote?
Well, that's one view. If the correct probably view is that Tyreek Hill said, you know what, for the betterment of the team and the organization, I'm going to step down. I don't think it's a stretch to say he's laying down the foundation for Walter Payton Man of the Year.
I do.
I wish
Wednesday,
you'd let
right?
that silence sit, Greg. Why wouldn't you? Really? So you object to Billy's contention that Tyreek
Yeah.
Hill might be NFL Man of the
It was
Year?
important. It was
early.
important. If he didn't say anything, someone may have thought that Greg agreed.
I wanted the silence. If
Okay.
we could have just stared at him for 5 seconds, it would have been funny.
I
but
let it sit for 2.5 seconds.
you didn't let it sit
Not
at
even
all.
close.
You didn't.
It's a
let
quick
it
clock on
sit
that.
at
2.5
all.
is quick.
I know you're 2.5 seconds.
Some people, by the way, have also said Walter Payton Man of the Year is really the most important trophy that you can win, not the Lombardi.
Yeah, laughable.
Greg, can you
what
get a
are
little
you
closer
doing?
to the
You're
microphone,
trying to
please?
just annoy me at this
The
point.
the NFL says it's their biggest trophy, which is ridiculous. No offense to Walter Payton.
Or Tyreek Hill, potentially.
Rest in peace.
Right. Exactly.
Sweetness.
Rest in-
Or his son, who
Rest
Dan
in
thought was a
power.
bathroom attendant.
yeah.
No, it's crazy though. Come on.
I did not think he was a bathroom attendant. I thought he was at the kiosk handing out tourist pamphlets. I did not think he was a bathroom attendant. That is not how far and extreme my racism ran. I simply made him the convention center pamphlet handler, which is also insulting. Your glasses are also fogging up.
I know they're poorly.
It's the coffee, I think. I
They're
think
poorly what?
They were fitted wrong for my head, so they sit too close to my eyeballs.
The Cody nose.
I'm the Cody nose. No, it's badly designed. I'm not going to say who the eye doctor is that I go to because I don't want to
McGillicuddy?
No, it's not McGillicuddy.
Greg, the coffee. Yeah. What's happening with the fogging of the glasses is that your coffee's hot, and you're fogging the glasses by drinking coffee.
Yeah, I love coffee. Coffee. Everybody loves coffee. It's the American drink.
No, not everyone.
Yeah.
Some people don't like it.
Yeah.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Does everyone love coffee? I learned something that I did not know when I was in Hawaii. I guess, evidently, that coffee prices have exploded because of the tariff situation. It's one of the things that have happened where we don't have a lot in America of the kind of soil that you need to make some of the best coffee. So you can do some of that. You can find some of that in Hawaii and where else? I guess Puerto Rico might have some climate that you would want for coffee, but we don't make coffee well, and America's addicted to coffee. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Does everyone like coffee? Because have you guys seen the coffee prices explode in a way that you're noticing it, the way that people noticed that egg prices were exploding?
Nah.
A little bit. Like I buy 10 K-cups of an unnamed brand. It was always $9.99, basically $1 a cup for years. And now it's like $12.99, $13.99. That's a pretty big hike.
I thought Zaslow was going to bring in a plain stick today. What happened?
Oh, I forgot.
Good job. Good job.
Why can't
Zaslow.
someone remind me? I gotta remember everything.
You blew it.
You got to remember to go
Everything I gotta remember.
To get a plain stick at Dunkin' Donuts when that's your thing. You said yesterday, that's my thing. I'm going to bring it in tomorrow.
And now I'm annoyed because now I'd really like to eat a plain stick right now.
And everyone said,
it.
and then we put it on a poll, and 85% of the people said they didn't know what a plain stick was. And you were going to show us today what a plain stick was.
I've let everyone down.
Yeah,
today.
you have.
It's okay, we're used to
Yo,
it.
you didn't have to agree so quick, Greg.
Bricks of Cuban coffee are out of control, if you're asking me, Dan. Like Java Bustelo, they used to be like $1.99 or something for like a brick, now down near $5 now. It's crazy.
Put it on the poll as well at Le Batard Show. Have you noticed that coffee prices have exploded? The Pablo Torre finds out story that I do believe, I don't know, you guys have now seen it. It dropped at 5 o'clock. Do we have any special imaging, even though we're coming in a couple of hours late on what it is that's happening with Pablo Torre? His episode dropped at 5 a.m. this morning. He's been working on it for 7 months, okay, because this is his first assignment in partnership with The Athletic, and he's coming out with the biggest story I think he's ever had. But you guys have now seen some of the story. Did we overpromise and underdeliver? Did we promise correctly, or did we underpromise and overdeliver? Because we normally don't talk this positively about something that's coming out, but I really do believe that even in a football week, as soon as people see what the size of this story is, it's got some nuance in it. Some of his stories are hard to report cleanly, like just saying, hey, this thing is so, and it's a fact, because you're accusing people of things and there's lawyering involved. You don't want to get sued. You have to make sure that you have your facts right on a story like this. You can't be flippant about it. But so if anyone here is accused of violating the salary cap with for example, an alleged $28 million no-show job for Kawhi Leonard, a superstar that everyone was wondering when the Clippers got him, how did that happen? Uncle Dennis was involved. Kawhi was asking for a ton of things. Did we overpromise?
I'll be honest. When Pablo first started mentioning this, like a few weeks ago, and I got a big story coming out, and David was mentioning, hey, he's saying he's got a big story coming out. I was like, all right, it's better be a doozy, all right? Because Pablo's had a couple stories that felt pretty big, and you're saying this one's bigger. So I'll admit, I was skeptical. Is this going to come out like, it's not that big of a thing? And then I see it this morning, and I think it's a pretty big thing. I think that people are going to be I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble with this story. I mean, heck, I was listening on the way in here on Sirius XM on NBA radio. They were all over it. Like, they were talking about the story and Pablo this, Pablo that. Like, I think once people are starting to wake up today, they see the story. I think it's big trouble.
Yeah, I normally have below average interest in business stories and stories that involve contracts, but this is a true blockbuster, and I think the size of it, the weight of it, is going to be known when the repercussions come in. Like, is Ballmer going to be suspended? Are they going to be fined? Or the club going to be
They
fined?
can't lose draft picks because OKC's got them all.
Yeah, exactly. But what are they going to, is the deal going to be negated?
No, the punishment should be they have to keep Kawhi Leonard. That's the punishment.
Played good last year, Zaz.
They would love to get out from that contract.
I kind of poo-pooed the last one of these Pablos. This one's big.
It's a good one.
Kind of like the Woj has a Woj bomb. This is a Pablo. Whoa.
That's the dropping of a Pablo?
Yeah, he's blown away.
Like, can you feel it?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Is there a Pablo out there?
It's brisk, but it's not like powerful.
Maybe that's like a nuke, and this is like the nuclear winter sound afterwards.
Oh.
It sounds to me like a Pablo.
This is the dropping of a Pablo. Get back in the workshop and see if you can make better imaging for that.
Dan,
Just
that
keeps
costs
falling, though?
$7,000.
I feel nervous.
Yeah.
What's Pablo's security detail like provided by Meadowlark? Because he's pissing off a lot of powerful people who, maybe might try to kill him.
I don't know if people listening
Put
to
it
this...
delicately.
That was not... I don't think that people necessarily, the discerning ones do, but I don't think that people necessarily see what's happening throughout the entirety of media and sports media that makes it more and more difficult with all of these corporate partnerships and all of these teams not caring for sports journalism. And as far as I can tell, I'm not sure how much sports fans care for sports journalism until it's done this kind of thoroughly, and they then enjoy, of course, the scandal. But what's happening throughout sports journalism is resources throughout local news, throughout everything, not just sports, is that it's all being hacked to death by an assortment of efficiency cuts and people not seeing this stuff as important. So Meadowlark Media has made a substantive investment in making sure that this show can do what Outside the Lines used to do, what HBO Real Sports used to do in the podcast form. No one else is doing this in the podcast form in sports. Let's play a clip from Pablo Torre Finds Out. This episode dropped at 5 a.m. We will get better imaging for when it is a Pablo drops.
Do you remember the first time that you discovered Kawhi Leonard's endorsement agreement with Aspiration?
Oh, it was within the first 30 days of my employment with the company. And I didn't so much as discover it as I was told about it.
What was your reaction? What were you told?
My reaction was, what the fuck? And I was told, like, oh, these are the major contracts and the major players you really need to be aware of. And we went through a litany of, really, really top tier name contracts. And then, oh, by the way, we also have a marketing deal with Kawhi Leonard, a $28 million organic marketing sponsorship deal with Kawhi. And that if I had any questions about it, essentially don't, because it was to circumvent the salary cap, LOL. There was lots of LOL when things were shared.
Did you ever see proof of Kawhi Leonard marketing or endorsing Aspiration in any way?
Never, not once. The single largest payment to an individual for marketing that Aspiration ever made has completely evaded all press. Nothing. He didn't have to do anything.
In other words, Kawhi Leonard got from Aspiration a $28 million no-show job.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm honestly so jealous. So jealous. I mean, he's got the dream. Like, it's within my beliefs to be paid $28 million and do absolutely all as well.
One of the things that I wrote down on a piece of paper when we left ESPN in terms of aspirational bullet points, there weren't that many, but one of them was, I'd like to start something that allows me to use a voice modulator. And I don't think we do it particularly well here.
No, that was bad because that was very clearly Boban.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious to anybody who worked with that person who that is. Like, I believe his voice is distinctive enough.
Oh, assign a pronoun. Okay.
That while it is that we're listening to it, we don't know who it is. But I think the people who would be mad that that person spoke would recognize that voice. I don't think we use the voice modulator very well.
So identifiable. Unbelievable.
What?
Yeah. That guy, to people who know him, to people who work for that company,
How can you know that? The voice sounds different.
please.
I mean, what if it's a woman? It's possible. In fact, I would say, in my opinion, I heard that. I'm like, it's possibly a woman. And to hear you guys speak with such certainty that it's not, probably speaks to the fact that it might be a good voice modulation.
You know what? I need to slightly take that back because I erred in assuming that it was or is a man. Where I don't think I erred is in thinking that we would be bad as a group at voice modulation and that therefore that would be a man, because to disguise the voice and have it be a woman would be well done. I don't believe we did it that well.
The second episode of Pablo Torre finds out is we track down whether or not that's a man or a woman. Yeah. Hey, there's spaces in between.
Greg Cody I wanted us to find when he came in here today what I have spoken about before, which is the one time that he was using a voice modulator when he suggested in print something that Zaslow still makes fun of him about 30 years later, that the Dolphins trade Dan Marino.
Right. I'm the only person in this room whose voice has been modulated, so I speak from experience.
Well, Chris has done some voice modulation with a new toy that he has back there that we've given him because, again, the bullet points were I wanted to be good at voice modulation, and we're still not good at voice modulation.
I also snitched on Ballmer to Paul. Oops.
Greg, would you please get in that seat over there where our voice modulator is, in the middle seat, and see, since I'd like to see if we can get slightly better at the voice modulation here. But
I'm on it.
In front of Greg Cody loved that in 1990 or thereabouts. Can you look at the date on that framed column over there?
Probably 93
on the wall on when it is that Greg Cody, the most memorable column Greg Cody has ever written.
93.
In 1993, he blasphemed, sacrilege. He traded Dan Marino in print. And afterward, I thought it was Channel 10 that interviewed him, although he said it was Jim Barry, who I think is still on the air. I think Jim Barry is still on the air.
Anchor chair.
And he had his voice and his face modulated like you would a whistleblower or anybody whose identity you were trying to conceal, who was giving you information that was dangerous for them to be known to be giving. And so he once did an interview in front of the Miami Herald building that way, and he wanted us to find it for him from 30 years ago. And I feel like I would have had to go straight to Jim Barry and ask him to go through things I would have to put in a VCR in order to get them to play, because this is so old. It's 10 years before the internet, never mind social media.
Pablo would have found it.
Maybe Pablo can find it so that we can hear a young-sounding Greg Cody. But Greg, let me see if your voice would be well disguised here if we modulated it here instead of using all of the resources that Pablo has.
Hello, this is not Greg Cody. That kind of thing. And you know it.
Okay.
Any questions?
I want the whole show like this.
Do you? You want Greg to sit in there all show?
Must win for the Dolphins,
It's
huh?
not Greg. But I do agree with Greg that
Why are you talking so slow?
the Dolphins need to win this opener.
It's because you can hear yourself. It's kind of awkward.
Greg,
What do you mean?
Greg, do you have a back in my day?
A what? I stand behind Greg for not doing back in my days anymore. You all have him singing songs and doing so many ancillary things that it's ridiculous, and you know it.
Talk faster.
Why are you talking so slow?
I'm talking at my normal speed. This is, my wife loves this deep, sexy voice, I'll tell you that.
There you go.
no,
How would you
no.
talk to her with it?
Yeah, baby.
What's your wife's name?
I forget.
You're not Greg, so
Yeah, I'm not Greg. My wife's name is Eileen.
Come on, Eileen.
I lean that way, and you know it.
Come on, Eileen.
I didn't say that.
Roy said it, and
I know.
then-
I was like, we're doing a duo thing, back and forth.
And you know it.
I have to admit that is not only an exceptional voice simulator, it's at least in part exceptional because the person speaking is clearly about 350 pounds heavier than Greg Cody. You can hear the.
Thank you.
You can.
We could play a game where you turn around and then someone in here talks and you have to guess who's doing it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Baby.
I think we're doing pretty well with Greg
Yeah,
here.
we'll just cook.
Although I also think that Billy could do all of this better. Let's, Billy, would you go outside, please go? Because I want to do, what is the pixelation called? I guess that's what it's called, pixelation. When
You nailed it.
Yeah, good job, man.
Yeah, well done.
Now, if you're telling me to go do something pixelated, people will know it's me because you just told me to do it.
Right.
Okay,
Which defeats the purpose of the
All right,
pixelation.
let's do something then where
Don't
no
worry
one
about that.
could ever know it's you. I want you to put
Well,
on what.
now they'll know because you're saying me.
Yeah.
Just say someone should do
blew
it,
the
and then
setup.
no one will know who it is.
All right,
like say
someone-
Greg. Greg, why don't you go do it, Greg?
I could do that. If
Well,
I can find Greg, I'll let him know.
Okay, good.
I still can't get over that Zaslow forgot the plain sticks.
Yo, I don't know why you got to keep bringing that up. Would it kill someone to remind me in the morning? I got a lot going on.
Tomorrow you're going to bring in a plain stick.
If someone reminds me.
Bring in enough for everybody.
All right, someone please leave the room and or someone go into another room, a total mystery figure, and let's see if we can figure out who that person is based on whatever it is, the maximum disguise that we can pour resources into so that we can actually do this correctly before we try the game that Chris is suggesting, which is I have to turn my back to things and figure out who's talking at the microphone. We will do that in a moment, and we will also get to the fact that the state of Florida has 3 teams in the top 15. The biggest stunner, FSU, all of a sudden in the top 15, going from 13-1 to 2-10 to now back in the top 15. That is a roller coaster ride.
Boy, do they look good.
The overreaction to their beating Alabama to vault them from unranked to number 10 is ridiculous.
Good thing they weren't 10th, though.
They were 14.
Well, still, my point is well made. That
Is
kind of thing.
You not only sound like you're 450 pounds, you also, because of how slow you're talking, you sound like you're slurring. Like you sound like you've had a great deal to drink.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I was born this way. Don't make fun of my voice. Now, I can artificially try to talk even quicker and see how it turns out. But this is the quickest it goes. Hey, this is the quickest it goes. Everybody, this is the quickest it goes. Yeah, this is the quickest it goes. All right.
This is the quickest it goes. All right, we go out into the other room where Billy obviously is better at all of these things than we are. Let's go out to a super secret person who clearly is not Billy. It's somebody else. Let's see if we can figure out who this is.
This is good, and the voice is going to be changed.
Yeah, you're good.
So, we're talking about Pablo. Oh, he broke another story. Big deal. Wow. We're with The Athletic now. We're breaking serious news. How about this for breaking news? Football starts on Thursday. You're releasing a story on Wednesday. And what's the story? Oh, a rich guy did something a little bit sketchy and maybe got around laws. Who could have seen that coming? Billionaires getting their way by not following the law and making up fake tree planting companies. I'm shocked, aghast. How about this? Philadelphia Eagles, Thursday. Football starts. Friday, Brazil. Saturday, FIU Penn State. Sunday Night Football. The NFL full slate is back. Monday. This story has what? A day to exist, and we're going to throw a big party to find out that all of a sudden these people are not all on the up and up, allegedly? Who cares? Why do we need this? Like, did Pablo not get enough attention as a child? And now we have to stop everything that we do every time he puts out a podcast episode and pretend like we've discovered some sort of great thing that's going to change the world. No one cares. No one cares about this story. No one's going to care about it. Everybody's flying down to throw a party. They're sending all these do not report until 5 a.m. on Wednesday, as if I want to tell my friends about this story anyway. Like, I want to talk to my friends. Did you hear about Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer? No one gives a shit about Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard. Here's the story. They cheated and they still suck. They haven't won anything. Why don't you explore that? Why don't you find out why they keep cheating and can't win? That's the interesting thing. If anything, cheat better. This isn't even good cheating. Who cares about this story? Who cares about the Clippers? Who cares about Kawhi Leonard? Who cares about replanting trees? Ridiculous.
I do want to talk about what a great fake business the tree planting business
God,
is.
Dan, if you're talking about fraud, the one thing you got to do is make sure that you're not selling something that can be traced back to you, right? Hey, yeah, we planted the tree. See that tree right there? We planted it. And you're like, really? Wow, how much did it cost you? $100,000. No biggie. And you just multiply that for $28 million. You plant 1 trillion trees. Everybody's happy. You replant the rainforest, and you never did anything, and you get all this money, and it doesn't matter. What an incredible fraud.
I think that that mystery figure was indeed right when he or she shrugs his or her shoulders and says, oh, big surprise, a billionaire skirting the rules. However, one of the shocking things about this to me, many, many years ago, can you look this up for me and see if it is indeed true? Because it might be an urban myth, but for many years, the greatest example of cheating in sports with money used to be Eric Dickerson and the way that he was recruited, and specifically the way SMU recruited him before SMU went on like this total probation because they were cheating everywhere. And the story goes, and please look this up for me to see if it's true, because I've asked Eric Dickerson and he will not confirm it, and I can't remember if it's true or urban myth, that SMU offered him an oil well. That's 40 years ago. To see that make an appearance in the pros, because of course they're going to try and get around the salary cap, and Mark Cuban one time got gonged because he just let Dennis Rodman stay at his house for a while, because they're very particular about, we're legislating equality here. Bad teams get better. We need everything to be competitive. When you circumvent the salary cap, as it looks like the Clippers did, to land Kawhi Leonard with a $28 million no-show job that used to be the exclusive domain of colleges, and the way that colleges recruited before they could pay players is legitimately shocking to me, even understanding that Uncle Dennis and Kawhi were working in the shadows and weren't doing business the way necessarily Ballmer usually does business.
How unlikely is it to you guys that Steve Ballmer's the only billionaire that tried this in a cap sport? Because my take after this reporting by Pablo is, I think there are some other owners that are getting a little nervous.
Name names.
I thought that, and I've never been able to actually confirm this, because I thought that for a while there, when China was making its way in and the Chinese endorsements were making their way into the sport, that there were creative ways that an assortment of owners were leveraging relationships to get people endorsement money because of the relationships that they had in China that would have been outside of the salary cap and had some promises in it that would allow this. But a $28 million no-show job is beyond the pale. Like, this is to pay someone that much for something that they didn't even have to do an endorsement deal, that the whole thing just seemed kind of bogus because he was hiding behind some plants, and tree planting.
Do we know for sure that he didn't plant any trees?
That's what they say. So the thing is, if you're going to go through with a good scam, you got to have the backstory, right? You got to have Kawhi in some Timberland boots with a shovel. You got to have him next to a couple of trees, a little bit of dirt on his face, a little bit of sweat. And you're like, look, he's planting these trees. What was his no-show job at this company?
It was to no-show.
Tree planter? Was he just picturing with the tree? Like, what was his job?
He was a celebrity endorser like Robert Downey Jr. They were spending a lot of money on celebrity endorsements.
I like the LLC that he created to get payment, KW2. Like, they're really hiding the
Could be anything,
where. Well, I mean, you may as well just named it Salary Cap Cheating LLC. Like
the name of
KW2.
the name of the fake company in it.
Well, part of the outrage here is the stupidity. the idea that they have a fake company for Kawhi Leonard and don't even go through the pretense of him actually having a job. It would be so easy to fake that. Have him do an ad, have him do a commercial, appear in a magazine. They did none of that. But to Mike's point, and he's right, I instantly wondered if this team is so ham-handedly trying to circumvent the salary cap, it's got to be going on not only in the NBA but in every major sport.
But
I don't think so.
You
I mean,
say
the,
that.
the MLS is overtly doing it with Messi. I mean, they have rules that designated players can make what they want, but the pot was sweetened with Apple, and we just understand the business that Messi brings over to that league, and everybody is okay with it. But there is just no way on earth that Steve Ballmer was the first person to think of this and execute it. No way. Now, other people may be better at covering up their tracks. I can only assume that there are teams right now looking into this kind of thing.
In fairness to Kawhi and Steve Ballmer, sometimes seeds just don't take. That is true. You know, like I don't know if you've ever had to like the school project where your kid bring home like a pumpkin seed. And you're like, wow, I'm gonna have a pumpkin patch in my backyard, and now never pay for pumpkins again at Halloween, and it just never grows. So it's possible they got dud seeds, and they're the real victims here.
Can you look up for me, please, what are the greatest salary cap scandals in the history of sports? Because we're fascinated by the numbers.
Juwan Howard and the Heat.
The salary cap, yeah. After that one, Pat Riley had the famous quote that the NBA office made him feel like he had just gone back from the proctologist and they'd stuck a 100-foot pole up his foot because they overrode the Juwan Howard trade. But when you guys, or the Juwan Howard transaction, when you guys are cynical and understandably saying, this probably happens all the time, that's one thing. I don't agree with it because they're very vigilant about investigating this stuff, and the penalties are harsh and will be harsh.
But they did investigate this previously and found nothing.
Yeah, but
so
now
they weren't super vigilant.
This is my point exactly. It's one thing to suspect it. It's a whole nother thing to be able to prove it. And it's in public now, and it feels proven. That one is what's rare about it. Like, you can have your cynicisms, but Pablo actually did the work, and the facts on this are something that they're gonna have reverberations throughout the sport.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Pablo Torre joins us now. By the way, Greg Cody, Dominique said on his show the other day that the Colts are a team that is not getting enough attention or respect, and that they were his pick for which team would be surprisingly good.
I'll pass that along to Greg.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Greg.
Okay. Nice chatting with you.
Pablo, are you joining us right now from the Harvard Club?
Why am I being doxxed on your program, in which I thought I was a friend of the show, a family member, in fact, and now you're alleging.
I'm sorry,
I
found
these
out.
Unverifiable claims.
I'm sorry.
You can't prove that.
I'm sorry, I reported something that makes you uncomfortable.
You think this is crimson? You think this red is crimson? No, it's something else.
You're at the Harvard Club, aren't you?
No, it's off maroon. That's off maroon.
Pablo Torre Finds Out has exploded as a podcast. Today is his first day and its first day with The Athletic, and he started with a beast of a story that took 7 months to report, and that he was very nervous that somebody else was going to break before he reported what was in 3,487 documents. So, starting first, tell the people what it is that you reported today at 5 a.m.
Yeah, so people may recall how there's this. What is happening? That's
how we're introducing. When you drop a Pablo, when a Pablo drops, that's our imaging. Chris Cody has had 7 months to produce imaging for this story.
It's good, right?
And that's what he has produced. This is how we.
It's like Lance Stevenson blowing in my ear.
This is how a Pablo gets dropped. This is how we celebrate the biggest story in sports today. So tell us what it is, please.
Whoever just yelped, it's good, right? I just.
Who said that?
The sweet nothings. It's a sweet something. is what I brought you guys today. 2019, the NBA investigates, okay, how did the Clippers get Kawhi Leonard? They found no proof, right? This was something that the NBA was infuriated by around the league. It was the Lakers, it was the Raptors, everybody wondering, how did Steve Ballmer and the Clippers get Kawhi Leonard? We have an episode that explains in, I think, like 4K detail how it happened in terms of how Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, has paid Kawhi Leonard off of the books using, and this is where the story gets wild because this is about the extension Kawhi signs in 2021, but it involves, true to the alleged setting that I'm in, 2 Harvard graduates, 2 Democratic politicians, starting what turns out to be a $2.3 billion valuated scheme around climate change and saving the planet that brings in as the following a roster of endorsers: Robert Downey Jr., Drake, Leonardo DiCaprio, Cindy Crawford, Orlando Bloom. The list goes on. What has never been reported, though, until today is the most important, most highly paid endorsement deal they signed, which was more than 4 times the combined value of every other celebrity. And that endorsement deal was signed with one of probably, I would say, the worst pitchmen when it comes to like good athletes in America, and it's Kawhi Leonard. And this was a company that was funded to the tune of $50 million by Steve Ballmer, another Harvard graduate, and the owner, of course, the richest owner in all of sports. And so we have documentation, we have 7 sources, we have a source voice modulated on tape, kind of whispering some facts into your ear if you listen on YouTube or as a podcast. It's a story that's an 80-minute documentary we made, and it's crazy. It's actually a crazy thing to sort of pour through.
Is there any proof at all that Kawhi Leonard did any work at all to earn that $28 million? Anything other than basketball, play basketball for the Clippers?
Which he's only kind of done, I would argue, the basketball part. That's my favorite part, is that typically in a story like this, you say, okay, there's no evidence, and that's a problem. Here, the absence of evidence is kind of the evidence. He was signed to a $28 million endorsement contract and did nothing. Nobody has proof of anything that he did. 0 things, no likes, no retweets, no posts, no tree plantings. This was a company that was supposed to plant trees to zero out your carbon footprint and help save the planet. Kawhi did nothing that anyone could find. There's no evidence on the internet anywhere. And that, to me, feels like all of the evidence you need in terms of this being a no-show job if you're an endorser of something, I would argue.
Pablo, part of the gall of this scam is the stupidity of it. Wouldn't it have been extremely easy just to have Kawhi film a couple of PSAs endorsing this whole project instead of doing absolutely nothing?
It's a great question that Calais Campbell has just asked, I believe, is who just asked that question. It's a really good question. There's sloppiness in this. There's sloppiness all over the place because, yes, all you had to do was do a couple of things. But this is the legend, right? Like, people are saying, you're snitching on Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, to me, is not the villain of this story. Kawhi Leonard is maybe the most clear-cut example of a straight-up capitalist, right? Board man gets paid. Dude wants money. Dude doesn't want to work. He wants to get paid. And so Kawhi Leonard could have done some of that stuff to give everybody plausible deniability. He preferred not to. He signed a deal in the contract, which we have. We have the signed and executed endorsement contract. And it's Kawhi Leonard, his autograph, right next to the guy who turns out to be, by the way, the youngest speechwriter in White House history for Bill Clinton, Andre Cherny, the co-founder of Aspiration. In that contract, he has outs that our pal David Sampson poured over, in which you clearly see Kawhi was also not obligated to do anything. They just didn't count on people like me, I guess, ever caring enough to follow the clues down the rabbit hole and find out that, oh, wait, this was a job that required you to do nothing and you did nothing. And so that feels like a problem.
Gotta want to learn, gotta want to earn.
Kawhi don't want to learn, Kawhi don't want to earn.
Pablo, if they did what what Calais Campbell was suggesting, which is just, a little thing here or there for Kawhi to do, wouldn't that, if I could check the counterpoint, wouldn't that have then tipped someone off to this endorsement he's doing, and then maybe we would have found out that Ballmer was funding, and of course it's like, hey, the bell rings that, wow, that's probably not a good thing for the salary cap.
Yeah, that's also, I mean, logical question. Now, the thing about this story, though, is that aspiration, while totally obscure until really like it goes viral this morning, they were announced to be the 23-year, $300 million plus founding sponsor of the Intuit. They were announced. We have press conference footage of Steve Ballmer sitting next to Joe Sandberg, the guy who's now pled guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud, by the way, and a 9-figure fraud as investigated by the DOJ and now still the SEC. So this was out there. It's just that nobody knew Kawhi was working for them. But Zaz, to your point, like the reason I found out about this is because in the bankruptcy filing, because the company has of course collapsed and it's into disgrace and financial ruin. In the bankruptcy filing, you see the list of creditors, and buried there, which was publicly available, by the way, was this line item that said $7 million outstanding to KL2 Aspire LLC. And I looked up what that was in the California Secretary of State database, and it was, Kawhi Leonard's LLC. Interesting. I then Google, did he ever do anything for Aspirate? Because I'd never seen that. And it's weird to have Kawhi Leonard as one of your top endorsers. And there was nothing. And at that point, that's when I'm like, something doesn't add up here. And it turns out a lot didn't add up for anybody.
Pablo, this is a bombshell at the foot of the NBA right now, and the commissioner. What do you imagine the repercussion might be of this story?
Before you answer that, Pablo, let me just hear some Calais Campbell sound to see if Pablo's got it right, because he does indeed find out that that whoever that is speaking in that modulated voice sounds like Calais Campbell.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes.
Wow, I take that as a compliment as well. Calais is a hell of a player.
Well, thank you.
Sorry the Dolphins got rid of him.
Yes.
You're so friendly.
What are the repercussions going to be?
Giant. Yeah, I mean, this is the parlor game that I find absolutely fascinating, because Steve Ballmer, to reiterate, has denied any wrongdoing, didn't know about any of this, says it's provably false. I await the proof, frankly. But nonetheless, Steve Ballmer is the richest owner, not just in the NBA, but all of sports, right? He's the good guy who saved the Clippers from noted racist Donald Sterling. He has Barack Obama sitting courtside. All of this stuff means he's both powerful and a good spokesperson for the league that wants to be on the good guy side of things. But yet you have this other dynamic where Steve Ballmer, who paid for the Intuit Dome with personal private money, no public funds, right? Great on him. He has spent so much money to expand his front office because that's uncapped. Here you have the problem of why Adam Silver called in 2019, according to the Athletic report on the investigation, a cardinal sin of alleged cap circumvention, in which the NBA, per that report, had outlined possible consequences: forfeiture of draft picks, $1 million plus fines, at the most extreme end, the nullification of contracts for the players whose salaries were circumvented. So I go back to history and I'm like, what's the last time this happened? And the only analogous case in terms of documentation and salary cap circumvention was the Minnesota Timberwolves, Joe Smith, which I don't know if anybody in the container even remembers, but Joe Smith and Glenn Taylor, the owner of the T-Wolves, had worked out a side deal, and it was written on paper because they were afraid Glenn Taylor was going to die before the completion of that contract. It's a total side, fascinating story.
But this has the potential to be the biggest salary cap crime that we've seen.
Yes, $28 million. And that, by the way, for the T-Wolves in that era, in the 90s, 5 first-round picks, suspensions for the owner of the team, for Glenn Taylor, as well as other punishments down the line. But this has tied into, again, an ongoing SEC DOJ investigation into fraud by this green bank, this climate change friendly company, whose biggest investor, or at least the most important, influential, notable investor, was Steve Ballmer, who put in $50 million of his own money. I mean, this is not merely a story about cap circumvention. This is now a question that the 7 sources I spoke to are asking. What else did Steve Ballmer know about? How does one guy have influence over this company in this way, and yet total ignorance about everything else? It's just a question being okay.
That Joe Smith thing happened over 20 years ago, and Glenn Taylor's still around, which is also interesting. Now, legacy media, they have to independently verify your bombshell reporting, but the NBA did just announce several media partnerships. They're basically on every night. They have so many big-time media partners. So far, I haven't seen ESPN touch this story. Do you actually think this gets traction beyond where it is right now? I know you have a big partnership with The Athletic. They're going to be pumping it out there, but do you think the big-time partners of the NBA are going to touch this with a 10-foot pole?
It's a great question. It's a really good question. We await. We await. I feel like what is an obvious decision to, of course, cover the biggest news in basketball today. And by the way, it's not merely, oh, wow, we have to do this whole thing. They had spent 80 minutes on this documentary. How can we possibly do that in a segment? The question would be, what should the NBA do if these allegations are proven, right? Like, how do you handle this? Capster Convention and Kawhi Leonard, that is it's a talker. And so, by the way, like, yeah, I don't know who has or hasn't covered this stuff yet, but I can tell you that the NBA is they were not aware. This is not a story they had previously investigated and said, there's nothing here. This is catching them with a level of surprise that I think says a lot about how secret this entire operation was.
Pablo, you named also celebrities who were listed as endorsers and had some involvement with this company. So were they duped, or were they potentially in on what was going on?
They seem to be victims. That said, I think the question of, like, what are you obligated to know about the thing you give your name to is a thing I think about all the time, working with you guys. But also when it comes to people trying to be good guys who are getting into partnerships with people who are not so good, actually. The question would be, Leonardo DiCaprio, did you know, or Robert Downey Jr., when you made that commercial that we put into the episode, did you know what you were really endorsing? A question that many celebrities have fallen into traps about, in fairness to them. So that seems all logical. But when you're alleged to be the greatest investor of the last 20 years, a guy in Steve Ballmer who is a titan of industry, again, the sixth richest person in the world, who has a personal relationship to the players involved here. And by that, I mean the actual executives at this company, that you partnered with them 23 years, $300 million, right? How is it that you don't know would be the question. And that's a different question for a celebrity than a businessman.
Pablo, this is a cap sport. This is an unfair advantage. I imagine other teams are pretty pissed off about this, but also I got to imagine across all the cap sports in this country, there might be some teams and owners that are a little bit nervous. Is it likely that Steve Ballmer just invented this idea and was the first to execute it, or do you think the league has to do some asking around right now in terms of punitive measures, because this might be a bigger problem than just this story?
Yeah, if you think about every owner's foremost incentive as self-interest, then the question becomes, what else have you guys been doing? You know, what have you guys been up to? I doubt that there has been a story with this level of documentation and depth in terms of how they tried to do it that was only caught again because the company collapsed into bankruptcy. But I think it's interesting, right? If you think about the room where they have to debate this stuff, the foremost voice when it comes to complaints to the league office about how small market teams have basically been crushed by rich guys now, these new billionaires, the new owners, the richest guys in sports history, like Steve Ballmer, that team has been the Oklahoma City Thunder. Historically, they always raise this stuff. They can tell the difference between what they can do and what they can't. That Ballmer, for instance, could. That team happens to be the team that won the trade for Kawhi Leonard, that won the title using the guy that they got in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who won the MVP in the finals and in the regular season and won a title this year. And so it's just interesting. I just wonder, like, what does that team have to say, given that their trade partner happens to be maybe the entity that they should be philosophically opposed to, but in this personal context, maybe that's a different calculus.
I
don't
should
know.
clarify some of the word choices I had earlier when I called it the biggest salary cap crime that there is. This isn't an actual crime. It's just within
Correct.
the context of basketball. I don't think that we've had anything around the salary cap that has a player of this magnitude or dollar amount of this magnitude.
The language there is important and also speaks to the whole thing of like in the NBA, there is a justice system. There are laws that the federal government ostensibly cares nothing about. The difference here in what we report in the story and very carefully report using, again, 7 sources who work for the company is that the very thing that is getting the Clippers into hot water today because of this reporting is the thing that has caused those 7 sources to actively wonder about what else Steve Ballmer might have been aware of, which is directly relevant to what the SEC and the DOJ are curious about. We are not alleging anything. We are simply saying this is a sports story that has actual resonance. Even if the one thing is not a crime, the question is what else in the world of legality might actually be connected.
Pablo, rather than the league possibly voiding Kawhi Leonard's contract, would the better punishment be that the Clippers have to keep Kawhi?
Yeah, I thought about this one too. This whole trade, man, like it's funny. Like, if you're the Clippers right now, it's kind of it's a bit of a blessing in disguise if you think that Kawhi Leonard is no longer worth the max plus contract that he's been signed to, right? If he's not healthy, would be the operative question. All of this, though, it reminds me, right? Like, man, it was such the obvious choice at the time to get Kawhi Leonard, and Ballmer looked like a genius for doing whatever he did to get him. Because there's no better player than a prime Kawhi Leonard coming off a title with the Raptors, two-way player, all that stuff. And now it's like, yeah, welcome to sports, Steve, is a bit of what's happened here. The double insult, the double bind is this story today for a guy that you may not even want in the same way anymore because his body turned out to be not trustworthy either.
Do we know if trees were actually planted? Because like Dan said, like, well, it isn't actually illegal. It's just them getting around the salary cap. But if they're raising money to replant trees and they're just using that money to pay celebrities to do nonsense, then crimes might have actually been committed.
Oh, I mean, look. So the co-founder of the company, Joe Sandberg, who is a big Democrat politician in California, pled guilty. 2 counts of wire fraud, 9-figure scheme, all that stuff.
Guilty to being a lib.
There is, but by the way, the climate change pose, right? Like Trump's administration comes to an end, the first one, and people are like, it's time for the good guys to make some bank. And so their logo, their motto was, clean rich is the new filthy rich. And then part of the investigation, Billy, and it's again a very good thought, is did you guys even plant the trees? And the source that we have in the episode points out that in their experience at the company, amid all this documentation, there was precisely 1 visit to a tree planting site. So in short, the answer seems to be no. They didn't really plant all of those trees, despite claiming, by the way, Andre Cherny, whose signature was on the contract with Kawhi Leonard, he had claimed, we plant as many trees every day, even more actually, more trees every day than there are in Central Park. None of that seems to have been true.
I should let everyone know that at 3:30 today Eastern, Pablo and Amin and Samson will be popping up on our YouTube because I'm sure after 7 months of investigation that there was a lot left on the cutting room floor. These are exhaustive episodes. And so if you want more information than anyone else is going to be able to give you at 3:30 in the afternoon today Eastern, Pablo will be doing something that, takes you places where I think people might suspect that sports go sometimes, but it's damn near impossible to ever prove this stuff, even when there's an NBA investigation. What didn't we ask you that we should have asked you? What are the other things here? I don't know how the reporting on this began. I don't know what you think the most revealing things are that your sources told you.
Oh, I just love the fact that, like, by the way, Doc Rivers was a guy who invested in this. And so it's just like, okay, we had David to assess the contract language as the former president of the Marlins, guy who signed many sponsorship deals. We had Amin on because if you don't think that we tapped into his Doc Rivers, you have another thing coming. Yeah, we have this whole thing, man. This whole thing is absurd. It's just absurd.
He wasn't
and the
there
reason
for
I-
important things. He was just there for his Doc Rivers impersonation.
That is important, Dan.
That's a good
Stay
impersonation.
focused.
I don't think you appreciate how good that impression. He had an Obama in this episode because Obama comes up. He had a Doc in this one. But then it's like truly, and for the David side of things, like just imagine the absolute, just like the pig in manure dynamic of David getting to just put on his little glasses and read a contract that he has no idea what's in. And he gets to point out all of this stuff. That's crazy. Like there's a part of the contract, right? So Kawhi Leonard does nothing, gets paid more than anybody else, combined, more than 4 times as much as all the A-list Avengers we mentioned.
DiCaprio, Robert Downey Jr., just the A-list of A-list.
Drake, Orlando Bloom. So meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard has this clause in his contract where he doesn't have to do anything if it's not in accordance with his, quote, beliefs. And it's just an incredible, and also he doesn't get paid if he doesn't play for the Clippers. So I'm just like, they can try to spin this in lots of ways, but on some level, there's an IQ test dynamic. Here are all the facts he reported. Here are all the documents. Here's the source on tape. Here's a guy doing a weird Doc Rivers impression. Here's a guy telling you what these endorsement deals are supposed to be like. What do you think? I can't really do much more to the NBA than give them all of the things they need to allegedly care about the justice that they talk about being a cardinal sin.
I love the picture that's behind you that they're going to put on the full screen, Dan, of one, David Sampson looking through the contract in the context of like O.J. Simpson, if I did it. Like, this is how I would have done this exact thing. And then I'm also looking at the setup on that screen where Pablo, those are props. Like that's blank copy paper that you guys stacked up and it's like, here's 7,000 documents. We go like, that's insane. That's freshly taken. Those are like just reams of paper, correct?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. How dare you? How dare you?
You guys put one paper clip on one little stack on the top and everything else looks completely
It does look
blank.
like in the movies when they put $100 bill on the top of the suitcase and everything under it is just a bunch of confetti.
The prop person did barely more than Kawhi did for trees. In fact, they did worse for trees because they wasted trees on all that paper.
Looks like a prop contract.
Wow. Prove it. That's what I have to say to you. Prove it. You think you can find that out? Prove it.
Pablo, to your point, the absurdity of all this, if they do one commercial with Kawhi Leonard holding
You already
a
said that.
shovel,
All right, we got that. We got that. Thank you. We've got you. It's absurd. Pablo, see you later. Pablo,
this whole thing is aborted.
He's one of the great defensive tackles in South Florida history. You're going to treat him like that? You have real questions.
Thank you, Pablo.
Defensive end.
Great reporting.
Pablo Torre finds out. Go check it out. It's already exploded. The original tweet this morning about the Pablo episode is over 3 million views because he's the only one who has this information. He's going to be the only one for a while. He'll be ahead of this story. 3:30 live on YouTube. He will give you more information. We're going to get out of that now because we've got football to get to. Good to see you, Pablo. Thank you for the reporting. Thank you for the work from the Harvard Club. Having seen the episode, I will tell you guys that this part made me laugh because if you don't know what the story is about, Amin, David, and Pablo talk for 15 minutes, a full 15 minutes at the top of the episode without telling you exactly what the story is about. And it reminded me of a mistake I made many years ago. My reporting on the Dallas Cowboys White House many years ago, where Michael Irvin had a home where the players away from their wives partied, I put that in a column about 20 paragraphs in a story about Eric Rett going to a nightclub and Super Bowl partying. So 20 paragraphs into a story. I didn't actually put in that the Bucks had one of these too that they called the Bat Cave.
What?
That is correct. And the thing that the Dallas Cowboys did that I was reporting, I thought wasn't as important as what it is that you're reporting. I don't understand why it is you guys talked for a full 12 minutes before telling us what the hell the story was.
Hold on. Because hold on, Dan. Did you watch The Sixth Sense and be like, they waited till the end to tell me that he saw dead people?
Whoa.
Come on. What are you
Spoiler
alert.
Mad at? Spoiler alert.
Also, there's a bat cave? What?
Get
Why are
outta
you even
here.
holding out on me?
Good talking to you. See you later. Thank you. Good.
Send a tip.
Good
Send
work.
a tip into the Pablo Torre finds out tip line. Bat cave?
You didn't even answer how the reporting on this started. Maybe we'll find out at 3:30 when he sits down with David Sampson and Amin Al-Hassan. So you guys are in agreement because you're all saying, "Oh, this happens all the time," but we don't have very much proof of this happening all the
It
time.
happens all the time. I don't think so. I think eventually. Look how sloppy this was. Now that we're getting this information and we're just finding out about it now, like. I don't think that this happens all the time.
There was one high-profile incident of this happening in the NFL, and it was a little slap on the wrist. There was salary cap circumvention with John Elway and Terrell Davis. The league docked the Broncos a third-round draft pick and fined them $2 million.
I don't know what the penalties on this are going to be. The NBA, as Pablo just told you, is going to be scrambling to figure out how to penalize the Clippers for this, because I will say to you, once you're screwing with the integrity of the structure of the league, the Lakers were going to get Kawhi Leonard, put him with LeBron, and change how the league looked. And the Clippers, the laughing stock of Los Angeles, for the entire time they've been in Los Angeles before Kawhi Leonard, did something that landed Kawhi Leonard. There is no way that the league handles this in a way that is soft. Something is going to come down on Ballmer, and it's not because Silver's a badass. It's because of how mad all the other owners are going to be about finding out about this. Mickey Harrison is going to go into the Hall of Fame this week, and I assure you that the other owners are going to be infuriated that there is something that looks like proof on, oh, that's how they did it. That's how the laughingstock Clippers managed to convince Kawhi and Uncle Dennis to go to the laughingstock Los Angeles franchise.
I think it's fun to imagine how David Stern would have handled this if he were commissioner. Because Adam Silver, I mean, come on, you know.
It's not going to be Silver, though. It's going to be the owners. Like, Silver works for the owners. The owners are going to dictate what the penalty is on this, and I don't think it'll be soft.
Do you guys, we remember a couple months ago we were talking about, do you remember where you were when the Kawhi transaction went down? And most of us actually had a memory of that. You remember why we had a memory of that? Because it was being positioned as the Clippers just saved the NBA from the next big super team, because it was well assumed that Kawhi was teaming up with LeBron and going to the Lakers. There were all sorts of reports of meetings and what was being asked, and then like a thief in the night came Steve Ballmer and the Clippers, and it was all predicated on that Paul George trade, and then we saw the whole picture come together. But when this deal first happened, everybody was super thankful that it did, because the league was saved and it was going to be more parity, especially in Los Angeles.
And don't forget, there were all these rumors at the time of what the uncle was asking of teams when it came to signing his nephew. It was, you know, potentially private jet whenever he wants, and it was buying a home, and it was endorsement deals, it was ownership stake, and it's like, we can't give you any of that.
You're starting to look at Kawhi's entire career a little bit differently, because I think if I fell on one side, I was pro Kawhi in what happened with the Spurs. But this is just another element of shadiness that makes you revisit that.
Oh, but I don't. I'm with Pablo on this in not blaming Kawhi for being maximum capitalist mercenary. The salary cap in general is a stupidity. It's because guys like Ballmer can't control themselves. When they want something, they know exactly how to buy it. And so I'd like to see all of those people bidding maximum amount of dollars, because you want to pick Jerry Jones against Daniel Snyder and see who wants the quarterback more and see how much that money's going to rise. The salary cap is a stupidity because these owners, all powerful owners, cannot control themselves when it comes to this sort of thing. And seeing Steve Ballmer want to get in this game so badly when he's the sixth richest man in the world. You know how these owners work. These are their playthings. But you think they're going to be less competitive with their playthings than they are about money? These other owners are going to read this morning, and that's going to dictate the penalty. It's not going to be about Stern silver, any of that. It's every owner waking up this morning. Imagine Ishbia, or, well, this is pre-Ishbia, but all of these, somebody with Ishbia's mindset, seeing this and being like, wait a minute, it looks like they cheated to get somebody because they don't care about our rules when it comes to keeping things equitable.
If the punishment is not as punitive as maybe you're making it sound it should be, would that be a sign that other owners don't want their business to come out as well?
That's why I'm super curious, because I'm sure you have some small market teams that understand what they're going up against in that league. They don't have certain advantages, and now the large markets are going above and beyond the league rules to acquire some of these people. They're a part of the league too. They are shareholders in the league too. But to the question that I asked Pablo is, I got to imagine Palmer can't possibly be the first person that considered something like this.
And nor is Kawhi the first person to ask. I've told you guys before, the amount of asks that LeBron's people made when they got to Miami because they knew what they were bringing to Miami. The answer was no. Please give us hundreds of season tickets. Hundreds. You know what those were worth the first year? Hundreds of season. Imagine what hundreds of season tickets would be for the LeBron James crew. There's nothing wrong with making the ask. I learned this. I told you guys this story. I don't know if you remember this at the Clevelander. One of Stugotz's friends came in one day, and it was Stugotz's friend. And so that person came in and made me take, I'm going to say, 45 minutes worth of pictures with him and his kid. 45 minutes. But because it was Stugotz's friend, I did it. And then at the end of it, I was 40 minutes past my expiration date. The guy looks at me and says, can you call your father and ask him to come in? And I look at Stugotz, and Stugotz's response was, yeah, you just keep asking until they say no.
Were you blinking? Like, what was going on? Like, why did you take so many photos? You do new pose, like different spots in the studio? Like, what happened?
It's a good question.
You can be an awkward photo taker.
About like 70% of the times, the eyes are closed.
I don't blame a player for wanting more and more money in this situation. I don't think that this is going to do anything to Kawhi Leonard's legacy that he wanted more money.
He blinked, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
No one would just take 45 like for fun.
I remember a lunch we had where a kid came and we took a couple pictures with the kids, and that got dicey because the kid sat in Dan's seat and it was a whole thing. Oh, yeah.
That's on
Gary
you.
was talking to us about Nazis. It was a crazy meeting.
What?
What's on me?
That's on you for, agreeing to pose for 45 minutes worth of photos. That's ridiculous. I mean, come on. And the other thing is, we're still trying to wrap our head around you burying the lead on that story where you got the Irvin White House in the 20th paragraph. Where's your news judgment on something like that?
I mean, it seems like an immorality. It seems like something that players having a house where they have affairs.
Yeah. So why wasn't that your lead?
Again, an immorality, it's just it's a little thing on the side. It's not this story. It's not a story that has those kind of ramifications. It's just a gossipy TMZ thing.
Hey, it's bigger.
It was bigger because it was the Cowboys.
Right, exactly.
If I'd reported that it was the Tampa Bay Bucks at the time, nobody would have cared.
Zagacki.
That's the way you do that.
That should have been in the documentary, the Jerry Jones documentary.
Greg,
I didn't see that.
It was in the documentary because there was nothing fresh in that documentary.
Okay.
They stole everybody else's reporting.
I'll mention that to Greg. I think he saw it.
Is there any reason that you don't remember Greg's signature lines? Because Zagacki is something I was expecting you to say.
Even though he's very much on camera as Greg.
That kind of thing.
Can we come up with a contest to get you a new expression to utter? Because you're using the old recycled tired ones, and I'm wondering whether it is we should just have a contest where you take applicants for a saying you're going to start using now.
That sounds like something Greg would be interested in. Trailers for sale or rent. Rooms to let 50 cents. No food, no pole, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. But thank you. Thank you, everyone.
The Dan Le Batard Show, sponsored by Liquid IV. Transitioning from the relaxed vibe of summer to dialing in your fall routine takes focus and stamina. Push harder and recover fast with Liquid IV's new sugar-free energy multiplier. Hydration and energy both in one. Each stick has a 2-to-1 ratio of L-theanine and caffeine for balanced energy. No jitters, no crash drink. Plus, you get 0 sugar, 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks, and 5 essential vitamins available in strawberry kiwi and blackberry lemonade. Damn, which is delicious, by the way. Blackberry lemon. I'm going to send you some. It's simple. Tear, pour, mix, and you've got hydration that really makes a difference. 1 stick, 16 ounces of water. You shake it up together. You pour it down the hatch. You drink it, and it's delicious. I always keep one in my car just in case I need one. In my gym bag when I'm going to play hoops. I'm going to go to the gym. All of that, I keep it with me. Don't let the grind drain you. Ditch the glitch with 0 sugar and 0 crash from Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code Dan at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with code Dan at checkout. liquidiv.com.
Mark Stein, one of the longtime journalistic voices in basketball, not unlike Tim Kirkshin.
What do you
He's
say?
someone who only cares and knows anything about his sport and knows very little else by his own admission, knows basketball, says the alleged violations in this incredibly detailed Pablo Torre report are staggering and without precedent, a story that has shaken the NBA already like very few. I should mention that Steve Ballmer and the Clippers have sent out a response, quote, neither Mr. Ballmer nor the Clippers circumvented the salary cap or engaged in any misconduct related to aspiration. Any contrary assertion is provably false. The team ended its relationship with aspiration years ago during the 2022-2023 season when aspiration defaulted on its obligations. Neither the Clippers nor Mr. Ballmer was aware of any improper activity by aspiration or its co-founder until after the government instituted its investigation. The team and Mr. Ballmer stand ready to assist law enforcement in any way they can.
So case closed.
The funniest part of this statement is the Mr. Ballmer is capitalized, and I'm certain that's how they refer to him. Everyone refers to him there. It's not Steve Ballmer, it's Mr. It's not even MR period. The Mr. is capitalized and the Ballmer is capitalized because he is referred to by capital M, Mr., and Ballmer in press releases and in person.
Do you think they pronounce it like the way you would if it were all capitalized, like Mr. Ballmer? That's how you would say capitalized.
It should have an exclamation point.
That's how he talks, right? Like, that's it. Like, Mr. Ballmer.
So does Pablo owe Mr. Ballmer an apology now that they've come out and cleared this all up?
You're good with the defense there?
I mean, it feels like this could have just been resolved over a phone call. Like, hey, did you do it? And like, nah. I'm like, okay.
Traditional media versus a billionaire. I know how this one goes.
We can move on to other subjects, but just to close the loop on what it is that not Greg Cody accused me of earlier, poor journalism judgment in a story from 30 years ago about the White House in Dallas. The story was about sex and the Super Bowl. That's the story that I was doing. And one of the other things in that story that I've told you about recently was that I called Derek Thomas for that story, the late Derek Thomas, to ask him if it was true that when he and Shannon Sharpe got into a fight on Monday Night Football that got Derek Thomas ejected for 2 straight penalty flags for unsportsmanlike conduct because Shannon Sharpe had enraged him, I was calling Derek Thomas to ask him if all Shannon Sharpe was doing was repeating a woman's telephone number that he cared about. And Derek Thomas hung up on me as soon as I called him. And Shannon Sharpe, because Derek Thomas has passed away, says, I will never say what it is that I was saying to Derek Thomas. Shannon Sharpe has been in the news recently, let go by ESPN, fumbled the bag like very few people ever have. And we have some sound. These guys were teammates, Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharpe, for a championship team. Shannon Sharpe, among the best tight ends I've ever seen before we started making Gronks and Travis Kelce's. Really prolific, productive, and given that I saw the 30 for 30 on the Ravens, given that I saw Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharpe interact, I didn't think that where we've now arrived in public discourse would be a thing that I saw given the unity of the huddle. Here's Ray Lewis talking about Shannon Sharpe, and listen to what Ray Lewis has to say before you hear Shannon Sharpe hurt by what Ray Lewis had to say.
Yeah. So you're not surprised by the success he's having with his podcast and TV and him and Skip and Stephen A., all that stuff?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm shocked at his content. I wouldn't, in a million years, the things that Shannon has said now or did now, I would never believe that Shannon would say or do anything. Yeah, and then so I kind of started to watch him, and then we kind of went our own separate ways because I'm like, you're going to take that route. I can't go that route. Never can go that route. And that route is to become so worldly that you become popular because you're talking about ignorance, right? A lot of times, a lot of these gossip conversations that they having and bringing up all this stuff, I'm not going to do that to nobody. I'm not in the business for that. I'm in life to try to teach people what does it mean to be a better man or get back to the kingdom.
Ray Lewis is not the only one who feels that way about Shannon Sharpe. All the smoke guys say that they don't like some of the stuff that is being done in modern media that Shannon Sharpe is also doing. But I do feel like Shannon Sharpe is pretty close to authentically himself in public, because this is the guy that during games would pick up the phone that goes to the offensive coordinator when they were scoring and scream on the sideline, call in the National Guard, they're in trouble. Like, this is the personality that Shannon Sharpe was. But Shannon Sharpe, because of everything going on around Shannon Sharpe, was hurt by this and is trying to take the high road. I want you to listen to this, though, and not just for Shannon Sharpe's hurt. I'm here to maintain that Ocho Cinco does the Stugotz job better than anyone does the Stugotz job except for Stugotz. Ocho Cinco, the perfect sidekick to help Shannon Sharpe do what he's doing.
I got nothing bad to say. Because a lot of things when you tolerate it, I'm going to go ahead and say my thing. Whatever transpired, I'll bite my tongue. I'll be the bigger person. I'll walk away. Hey, you right. Because you know why, Ocho? It's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You know how I know? Because your boy, you looking at him, he low-hanging fruit. And there are a lot of people taking your shot at your boy.
Come on now.
Y'all can have it. Y'all got it. Y'all got me. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. We gonna be all right, Ocho.
Yeah.
That tribute say we gonna be all right.
Yeah, listen, I could have told you that. I could tell you, I've been telling you that.
Yeah. So everybody want to pile on. Everybody jump on now. Hey, we got him down, Ocho. We got him down. The best time to. Hey, let me get my lick now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody want to get a lick now because when your boy was doing good, you hear a lot of people that have a whole lot to say. Not everybody got something to say.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys shaking your heads about?
I think Ocho said more than Shannon did.
I don't know what anybody's saying.
Why is everything got to be talked about in code?
I care about this even less than when it
It's
started.
it's not code. He's saying that he's low-hanging fruit. Everyone's taking their shots, and he's hurt by Ray Lewis being one of the people who's taking the shots there.
Don't forget, it was a very famous scene ahead of that Ravens' first Super Bowl win where Ray Lewis was going through it, with all the legal stuff, and Shannon Sharpe invaded the media day, put his arm around Ray Lewis, and did a whole deal about what a great man this is, and I don't like the way that you're treating him. That was a big thing back then.
I don't think Ocho really helped him out there either. I mean, you got to talk. There's so much silence. At least Stugotz will fill the gaps with a fake laugh.
Ocho, he didn't even say anything, did he? Literally, did he say 5 words?
I mean, it sounded like call and response while you're in church. You're like, wow, that sort of thing.
Did we change the numbers, the technology on your modulated voice?
It's a different person.
What just happened there?
Who do you mean? I've been here the whole show. That kind of thing.
Roy sounded fine. Chris sounded fine. What are we talking about here?
The thing that I saw while I was on vacation that actually made me feel really bad for Shannon Sharp, even though you may not feel bad for Shannon Sharp, was when he was lamenting the fact that he implored ESPN to not release the news that he was being released until after his brother's Hall of Fame weekend. Obviously, that's not how the news works, but I did feel bad for Shannon Sharp having to be around Sterling Sharp profusely apologizing when Sterling Sharp is telling him, please don't apologize, but he ends up soiling what was one of the great nights of Sterling Sharp's life.
I think given the three, because Chad had stuff in the pros too, the three of them generally, to most people, they elicit very strong opinions, and I don't think empathy is usually one of them.
Anyone can understand, though, embarrassing your family, though. No? Like anyone, I understand that empathy can be hard to come by when we prefer to laugh, especially as cruel as social media is. But who doesn't understand loving your brother? It's his big day, and look at what you've done. You're more famous than your brother. You're a better football player than your brother. Your brother is getting one moment in the lights that is a fountain of youth, and that week, you're the news, not your brother.
Maybe if there was more separation from the events, but if you've got an empathy bandwidth, and it's directed around whatever is surrounding Shannon Sharp, I don't think it's going his way.
Why would anyone have an empathy bandwidth?
I do. I can't muster up the same kind of empathy for Shannon Sharp that you are, obviously.
But it's not, these things can both be true, though, that you can not feel bad for Shannon Sharp and see a situation here that anybody would feel bad in if they were the one responsible for it.
Empathy bandwidth sounds like you have only so much empathy you're willing to give out.
That is what he's saying.
When it sounds like you only have empathy for certain people who deserve it.
I just don't care. I just don't care. I just don't care.
I think the two brothers handled it very well on the Hall of Fame stage that day, right? If there was apparent acrimony, then I would feel bad for one of them, but they seemed to handle it very well. Good for them. What?
Do you guys want to play the game? Do you guys still want to play the game where I turn my back and try to figure out whether on the voice modulator, who's on the voice modulator?
Should we go back to the monster or leave that one? This is a fun game. I'm in on this.
Do I still want to play the game? Suggest I wanted to play the game from the start. And also, Ray kind of lost me with all the signatures behind him on that podcast.
Let's try it one time. Turn around, and then we're going to have someone talk, and then you will have to guess who it is.
All right, but Zaslow was saying that he saw Ray Lewis recently not wearing a baseball cap, and because he was not wearing a baseball cap, all of a sudden Ray Lewis wasn't as intimidating as he used to be.
Yeah, he's got the horseshoe going on.
He's got to go home?
Mike,
Maybe.
Also, what was suggested is that the original voice modulation sounds a little bit like Andrew Luck, and I was wondering if at some point we might be able to get Andrew Luck or fake Andrew Luck talking on the voice simulator to see if we can distort that a little bit. But I'm going to play the game that Mike doesn't want to play right now. I'm going to turn my back here to the proceedings, and I'm going to try and guess which one of you is talking. But I don't think you guys are much for getting out of your seats and scrambling. So I'm going to guess before I even do this that this is going to be Greg, that none of you are going to move and it's going to be Greg.
All right. Well, right now you're hearing shuffling around. Like we're moving. A lot of people are moving. All right. Let's see here. All right.
I'll go over there.
All right.
Yeah,
all right. A lot of shuffling. All right.
That kind of thing.
Is that Roy?
Wow.
Was that?
That was Roy.
We stink at voice modulation.
All right.
Wow.
Game over. Good game.
Nobody moved.
As a company, we stink at voice modulation. Let's continue to see if we can get better at this as we go along, shall we?
Would it kill you to talk some football? I mean, not football from
He didn't
20
know it was
years
starting
ago.
tomorrow.
I mean, damn.
Give him a day.
We got Ravens, Bills, huge game. We got Cowboys, Eagles. We got so many big games that people are going to want.
Chiefs, Chargers.
These games are
in
sold
Sao
out.
Paulo.
You don't have the option to go to the primary market because these tickets are flying. So what do you do when you want to see these teams in action? That's right, Chris Cody. You download the Game Time app. It is super easy, guys. I'm telling you. Time and time again, I go to this app because it makes It's so easy. It takes the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
Since you want to talk about football, I am very pleased to have Greg Cody in studio as a longtime NFL writer, one of the longest-timed NFL writers. He is entering his 35th year of making NFL predictions weekly, I believe. My brother did the first art for the upset bird that he consults whenever it is that he thinks there will be an upset in the NFL. Over the 35 years, Greg, have you tallied your overall record? Do you know your overall record over 35 years picking games, both against the spread and straight up?
Greg's not here, but let me speak for him. He does know his all-time record. I don't personally know it right now, but I
can tell you overall.
Oh my God!
Overall,
the mask is falling down.
What
wow!
happened?
Wait a minute! It's you!
Wait,
it's
back.
Greg!
I'm back!
It's Greg Cody! You guys tricked
You
me.
fraud!
Where have you been, Greg? You missed a
Okay,
good
what's
show.
going on
They're
here?
planting trees.
No, my overall record.
Meaning not against the spread is in the neighborhood of 650 to 660.
And my record
Against the spread is this is so distracting. My record against the spread is over 500. I want to say about 520, 518, 522. There's an echo chamber in here. What's going on?
The echo.
What else is new?
This is not an echo chamber.
Now people are going to think this is Greg the whole time.
I know, right?
That's not terrible, but it sounds like you have spent 35 years picking games, and basically, if you had been doing that with your money, it would have cost you money because the VIG would have made it so that you would be a career loser in money at that clip.
Again, I'm guessing on the percentage.
You wouldn't be though if you were at 73%. That's not if you
73%. What are you, insane? Anybody who says they're at 73% is lying or hallucinating. You must be high.
I mean, come on now. Let's get real.
I had a great season last year. I was like 69% overall and about 54% against the spread.
It's difficult. You know, this isn't the NCAA where, Miami's favored over Bethune-Cookman by 115 points. This is king sport. This is the NFL where the biggest points
of the week this week is like 7.5 or 8 points. It's ridiculous. Every game is close. Everybody can beat anybody. And I'm slaying the dragon. I'm the man in the arena with his sword, slaying the mighty point spread.
You like the pros better than college, don't you?
I do. No, I do, for that reason. You know, you can pick whoever you think is the best team in the NFL. Let's say Philadelphia. Whoever you think is the worst team. Let's just say New Orleans. It could be a competitive game. In the NCAA, you have a couple of difficult games, and then you have 5 or 6 wins that are just baked in. Okay, you start the season with 5 wins, and then you have, the Bethune-Cookmans and, no offense, Billy, the FIUs. I mean, Penn State versus FIU. Come on, what are we doing here?
I mean, FIU is others receiving votes in the coaches poll this
I
week.
saw
I'll have
that.
you know. Yeah.
I didn't know you had a vote, Billy.
Since I prefer to talk about games that have been played than games that are going to be played, let's talk about college football for a second. Let's talk about the polls. Let's talk about the coaches poll. Let's talk about the fact that Florida, Florida State, and Miami are all in the top 15 after week 1. One of the things every year that I guard against, because I don't believe that before week 1 anyone knows much of anything, which is why you get the FSU-Alabama result that you get, and no one sees it coming. But I also feel that while coaches always say the biggest improvement always gets made from week 1 to week 2 every season because of what happens in game 1 with jitters and people being off, I also believe it can be hard to detect in watching games like Notre Dame-Miami, for example, if Notre Dame is actually going to be good this season, because I don't believe their quarterback is going to carry them this year. I don't believe that C.J. Carr. I believe Miami's defense is good, and I would have believed it was good before what I saw yesterday, just based on some of the things that they did in the portal and in the offseason and just revamping the defense. But I don't actually know, after watching Miami and Notre Dame, if that Notre Dame offense is going to be limited all season, because I don't believe in their quarterback. And though he played well under the circumstances, seeing what I saw, I know now it's a signature win, but I also know that anyone that was in your top 10 in week 1 was made in your top 10 by a lot of people who don't know anything. And so some of those things can end up being a mirage. And so today, I don't know if FSU is really good or if Alabama is really bad.
Oh, at the end of the season, that could look like an 8-5 team be, a 7-win team. I think that's probably more likely for FSU and Alabama, given that Alabama's 5-5 in their last 10, and FSU is coming off a season where they had 2 wins. Gus Malzahn, he can do that to certain teams that are unprepared to play, and it certainly looked like Alabama was unprepared to play. There are so many highlights on social media of guys giving up, jogging to where they think the play is going to go, not caring whatsoever. I do think that Miami's win over Notre Dame will age well. I rewatched the game a little bit. That game was actually pretty close. It's just that Miami won that middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half, and that's when Miami looked their best. But other than that, they were kind of matching blow for blow over there. And C.J. Carr, I think, really impressed because
I thought he looked great
for a dude that never played, and maybe
certainly nervous in the first half. Mm-hmm. The throws weren't good. He looked nervous.
They were conservative with him, the short passes to kind of get him going, and then when he had to start making plays, he was doing great. So with his feet. And Minchie was supposed to be the more mobile of the quarterbacks. I think Notre Dame's going to be all right, and historically under Marcus Freeman, that is a team that gets stronger as the year progresses. And after that,
it was week 2 last year they lost to Northern Illinois, right?
Right, and you see games that could be tricky on their schedule, like Arkansas and Boise. Well, Boise looks like they've completely fallen off without Genty. So I do think that Notre Dame is going to be in that conversation, and I do think we'll look back on Sunday saying, oh, those 2 teams have made sense. They kind of remained in the conversation.
To the FSU point, though, they looked great on almost every side of the ball, right? Offensive line was going and attacking people at the point of attack. Defensive line looked good. Their defense was actually something that last year was obviously embarrassing. This year they stood up. I don't really like Ty Simpson that much. I think that he's kind of a stop-back quarterback for whoever they get next. But their offense, Tommy Castellanos was dynamite.
Yeah, and he didn't have to throw, and I was laughing at things.
But
like
even the throws he did make were spot on.
Yeah.
You don't really see that from him.
Yeah, I think early on he kind of grew into the game, and he's one of those front-running quarterbacks that as soon as he knows that he's got something, he feeds off that energy. And to the other team from the state of Florida that is also ranked in the top 15 collectively with the Big 3 for the first time since the pre-ranks in 2006, I actually came away with a ton of concerns for Florida, which is rare in a game that a team wins 55-0. You get 0 sacks against a Long Island school that we all learned at the same time has a football program. They surrendered 11 tackles for loss. That is a team that is not winning the line of scrimmage as impressively as they should against a school that, again, we just learned has a football team.
And that schedule, have you seen that schedule?
It gets tough.
Holy crap.
Breaking news! ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, and First Take are talking about the Pablo Torre blockbuster.
I like on the screen, it just says, according to documents obtained by Pablo Torre. It's just his name.
It's not Pablo Torre, it's the documents that he has.
No, but it's just Pablo Torre. They're not even saying Pablo Torre finds out. They're just saying Pablo Torre has documents. You don't normally see somebody by name being referenced as having documents on ESPN. I want to ask you guys, from among all the stats that you saw in Alabama, did any of you see a better stat than this one? I gave it on the show that we did on Labor Day. Chris Cody, can you please get me the stat of the day music? I want to ask you guys, of all the numbers that you saw, did you see any number better than the one I'm about to give you here?
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Zaz, you want to take a guess as to how many times, if you don't know it, how many times Saban in 230 games lost to an unranked team?
Oh, man. 230 games, all Alabama.
All Alabama. All. Do you guys have any guesses on this?
I want to guess.
Because he played obviously against a lot of ranked teams, but he played against 230 unranked teams.
You know, I'm going to say 0.
I'm going to say 4.
4 is exactly right.
I do my research, my due diligence.
He just asked the question. How do you do any research?
Well, he undercut the whole bit, too.
I knew it. I mean, I knew it. That happened to be in my
So that's not
favorite.
research. That's not research.
That's the thing about sources. They know the information. That's why you have to cover his voice so you don't know who knew.
That's not the stat, though. That's the first part of the stat.
Oh.
DeBoer has coached 14 games at Alabama. You want to guess how many times he's lost to unranked teams?
Ooh, yes. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 now.
4.
I was going to say 35.
I'm pretty done with that bit.
Also, Jeremy read that stat yesterday on the air.
I know.
So we did it. We ran it into the ground.
The stat.
All right, we did it. Yeah. Okay. Not the modulator. That still got legs.
Do you guys have a better stat than that one?
I mean, I liked that Kalen DeBoer, he has lost in 4 of his 5 losses are when Alabama was a 2-touchdown favorite. 4 losses so far as a 2-touchdown favorite. Like that's pretty wild.
If you want to play devil's advocate, though, Marcus Freeman had that reputation. He's lost some big games as a multiple touchdown favorite, and they usually grow into seasons, and everyone would concede Marcus Freeman's a very good head coach.
I thought Carr looked good under the circumstances, but I'm bringing in previous knowledge and Jeremiah Love when I say I think that's going to be a big play offense. I didn't see a lot of examples of a quarterback who was going to produce a big play offense against Miami. Might be circumstance, might be Miami's defense. I expect Notre Dame to be good. I'm just telling you that I often see games before week 1 and after week 1 where 2 teams are playing, and I can't quite tell you how good they are because I don't know if both of them are bad or both of them are good. I don't know if both of them are somewhere beneath where I expected them to be or whether they're going to be better. When I'm watching Miami and Notre Dame play against each other, though, the thing that did jump out to me, and it's why it is I understand the Miami fan base's criticism of Mario Cristobal. What we did see is a team with a 2-turnover advantage have maulers on the offensive and defensive line. And usually when that combination of things is in play, I can tell that this offensive line can't handle this defensive line. And I can tell that Miami's offensive line can handle this defensive line. If I give that team a 2-turnover advantage, put them at home, they're not kicking for the game with a minute left.
And then you have to remind yourself, that's a Notre Dame team that, leaned on Riley Leonard a lot to make plays, but they brought a lot of dudes back from that team that ran through big-time programs all the way to a college football playoff final. You could argue that's the best secondary in the nation. In fact, many are, and Miami was making plays against that secondary. So, look, we've been there. There was a Labor Day night game with Ja'Cory Harris where we all thought Mark Whipple was the next greatest thing and Ja'Cory Harris was a Heisman favorite, and then it turns out neither FSU or Miami were good. And who's to say? I'm sure there will be games like that when we look back and look at week 1 under a microscope. I just happen to think, given the very recent track record of Notre Dame and the fact that Miami looks a certain way, that those 2 teams seem to be legit.
Well, that's what it is for me, is Miami looking a certain way. You know, like that Hurricane team that we saw Sunday night, those bodies, the physicality that they showed. All right, the Canes, you go back the last 8, 9, 10 years, they've been few and far between, but you've had some big wins, specifically 2017 against Notre Dame. But, that to me, you won that game 41-8, that game against Notre Dame. You weren't 33 points better than that Irish team. You look at this win Sunday, the fact that it was a close game, I thought that spoke better for Miami. If they go up 21-7 and they keep pouring it on Notre Dame, it's like, all right, you're not this much better than Notre Dame. The fact that they won a tight game, it turned out, against the Irish, I thought that spoke a lot about this Canes team.
And they left some points on the ground.
Yes.
They were very spooked by Notre Dame's special teams. They called a timeout on a punt return because they didn't like the look, and then they rushed another field goal because they didn't want to take 2 timeouts on special teams, and they end up getting 0 points from that Justin Scott forced turnover. I think that Miami still has a much better performance in them, and it's great to lean on the defense and win a game in which you feel like you left some points on the board.
But you thought blowing a 10-point lead and winning a close game was better than laying it on and blowing them out?
Yeah, because if the Canes go on and they win that game, let's say by 28, 31 points, you're not 4 touchdowns better than Notre Dame. Like, I don't know what that proves in that spot. The fact that they were able to have a 14-point lead at one point, and then, okay, Notre Dame makes the comeback, and then you were still able to respond in a tight game and pull that out, that to me meant something. I think it means more than a blowout victory.
I think I see your logic. I would feel better about Miami if they did.
Well,
but
you'd feel better about it because you wouldn't have been nervous at the end of the game.
Right. I do think that there was potential for that game to get out of hand, and a slip here on a wet field, a busted coverage here and there. Like, there were moments where Notre Dame just made certain plays, maybe got lucky or whatever, but they hung around the same exact way they hung around last year to an annoying degree that made me think, Notre Dame, CJ Carr, they're going to be all right.
I wanted to see them pull it out in a big spot. We saw they were capable of building a double-digit lead, and we also saw they were capable of responding and pulling out a game in a big spot.
But they blew a lead, and if you didn't have a freshman quarterback at 2 minutes ago, they could have lost that game.
They blew a lead. They also have more confidence in their kicker now. You could argue
4 of 12 last year at FAU.
Yeah. Well, that was my problem with the final drive. Like, I didn't like settling for a 47-yard field goal,
which you nailed, by the way.
It was 4 of 11. I want to attack a couple of things here. You said that Miami fans were just nervous. That is absolutely where all of the spoiled entitlement is coming from, the loudest people who aren't satisfied with a win over Notre Dame. You didn't like that you were scared at the end of the game, and so you're mad at Mario Cristobal because you were scared at the end of the game. That happens all the time. I told you guys what I saw between championship locker rooms when I walked in as a freshman, University of Miami. They never lose a home game while I'm in school, but I don't have any context for what college football players are supposed to look like. So I walk in as a freshman and I see Jerome Brown, and I'm like, that's not a fellow student in the locker room. But years later, when they were on probation, and I'm going in there and it's Ryan Clement and a bunch of kids with pimples, when CJ Carr took his helmet off on the sidelines, and I'm seeing that guy being chased by Reuben Bain, I'm like, that's a child. That is a young. That Carr looks very young. He's taken off his helmet, and he looks like the leader of Notre Dame is not yet grown up because he's very young. And so what I didn't see was a big play offense in that game from either team. Like they were, I understand that there were 3 fun touchdowns of 30 yards in the first half, but and there was a broken play late in the game.
2 pretty good secondaries, it would appear.
But there were not big plays in that game.
2 good defenses. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. And there were, like, I watched that. I loved the first touchdown pass from Beck, and I gave him more credit than Malachi Toney because I thought everyone was hyperbolic about the 17-year-old. And in watching the game back, seeing Malachi Toney shorten his route, adjust to the ball the second it leaves Carson Beck's hand against that secondary.
It's a pro move.
It's a 17-year-old boy that is making that decision in that play. And to the second touchdown pass, I came away more impressed with the throw from Carson Beck, especially knowing that that was something that they recognized in their prep and knew that specific 2 foot by 2 foot area was going to be there for that play. Perfect execution there. I think Miami's in good shape.
Yeah, I thought calling Carson Beck's throw lucky on that second touchdown pass is garbage. You know, you had to make a great throw and also a great catch. Both of them were necessary in order to get a touchdown there, and they did both. It was a great throw and a great catch.
But the thing being lost on both of these, is that his eyes are still downfield on both of them right before he's about to get crushed Right, like he waited until the last possible second to make both of those throws. Put it on the poll here, please, Juju. Did you ever think Mark Whipple was the next greatest thing? And also put on the poll, can anyone named Mark Whipple ever be the next greatest thing? I want to play for you some sound here and see if you recognize anything about it. It's not sports. It's that Cracker Barrel, that silly Cracker Barrel controversy. The Wall Street Journal has a podcast called The Journal. This is not a sports story. And I want to see if you guys notice anything about this reporting done by the Wall Street Journal's podcast on this Cracker Barrel story.
All because a new streamlined logo erased that old timer and set off a digital pitchfork mob. Our colleague Heather Haddon has been covering the story.
A lot of commentators were like, no, we do not like this.
So Cracker Barrel's made everybody crazy today. Yo, that's me.
It would have been good to leave the trailing sound of other serious podcast voices at the end of that so that people would have noticed that that was you on the podcast as opposed to you speaking right here next to me for the audio audience that's not watching.
Well, but I was shocked. I didn't expect to hear myself. That was me.
What was this?
Yeah, what is that?
This was a serious Wall Street Journal podcast breaking down everything going on with Cracker Barrel, and they wanted to give some context, so they just dropped in Zaslow.
I told you he's a rising star. I told you that everyone in media is noticing what it is that Jonathan Zaslow is doing these days. And so this is not an edit. This was something that the Journal put together, and we were all shocked when we heard Jonathan Zaslow's voice inexplicably in the middle of the Cracker Barrel controversy.
All because a new streamlined logo erased that old timer and set off a digital pitchfork mob. Our colleague Heather Haddon has been covering the story.
A lot of commentators were like, no, we do not like this.
So Cracker Barrel's made everybody crazy today.
His voice is so distinctive.
I wasn't on that show.
No, you were not. They stole that sound from our show.
Copyright.
Yo, that sounds like some AI nonsense. I'm entitled to some kind of money.
Wait, what is AI?
I wasn't on that show. They're using my voice.
Have you? I mean, you've done radio shows for how long? You don't know how playing clips work?
Yes.
You know what? You are entitled to money. And you know what? You should play the lottery. You should play Jackpocket. We're teaming up with Jackpocket, America's #1 lottery app. Play Powerball, Mega Millions, even scratch-offs, all with just a couple taps. New customers get $5 in lottery credits when you download the app, opt in, and use code SUPERFAN at sign up.
Hey folks, it's Mike Ryan, and it's also football season. That's right, things just kicked off. I celebrated a big dub with my friends and my trusty Miller Lite right there beside me because Miller Time is the secret ingredient to football time. Miller Time makes everything a good time. I love Miller Lite. You know why? Because Miller Lite is brewed for flavor with simple ingredients, rich toffee notes, and that iconic golden color. And here's a kicker, folks. In its 50th year of existing, it's just 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. The original light beer since 1975 and still hidden 5 decades later. Whether you're at the game or at your home on your couch with your friends, put out a nice little cold cooler of Miller Lite and make sure the drinks keep coming because it is football time and you want that beer that hits different. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/stand to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Going to get to Nick Wright here in a second, and also I need to get to Billy because I don't know what his thoughts are on the coaches poll, but I've been told he's got
Well, Greg's taking stray shots at me for some reason about the coaches poll. I don't know what your deal is. Poo-pooing. I guess you're jealous that FAU's not in there. Couldn't sniff the coaches poll. Wow. That's right. I went there.
Do the coaches have to admit who they voted for? Is it transparent?
I actually have a theory on who it was. I think it was James Franklin because Penn State plays FIU this weekend.
Awesome.
So I think that if you're James Franklin and you put your opponent in the coaches poll,
Yes. Good move.
then you're like,
Yes.
look, this team was in the coaches poll
Yeah.
last
Outside looking
weekend.
in.
Yeah,
Right
it's a working theory of mine. I haven't proved it yet. I'll talk to Pablo, and in 8 months we'll figure out if that's true or not.
Oh, Nick Wright has a bit of a nemesis issue with Pablo. Before we get to that in a second, bad day to have a nemesis issue with Pablo, incidentally. We'll see what Nick has for Pablo in a second. But first, we've got a new partnership here with Nuttiest Fan. What are we doing here? I've had some of these hot peanuts. They're delicious.
Oh, the Hampton Farms peanuts are they're the best. We are doing Nuttiest Fan, Dan.
Left you speechless.
I mean, it is. I was because he said the hot. I haven't had the hot. I've had the spicy dill pickle and just the classic. So I couldn't speak on the hot yet, but they're all fantastic. And it's the Nuttiest Fan, Dan. Brought to you by Hampton Farms. Get nutty with Hampton Farms, the official snack nut of the tailgate. And be sure to keep an eye out for Lucy Rodin at Iowa State if you think your team has a Nuttiest Fan. So here's what we're doing, Dan. I'm going to show you 2 college football fans, and you're going to tell me who's nuttier. And then you can go to our Instagram. The fans can vote on this, and we will reveal later in the week who the Nuttiest Fan is. The first one, we talked about him a little yesterday. It's the Alabama guy. This guy just throwing a bird in the middle. He saw the camera was on him. He deadpan bird. All right, so that's our first option. Middle
That's
finger.
salted peanuts right there.
That is salted peanuts.
That's
right
good
there.
camera awareness.
That is.
And
And
some
then
of those dill nuts.
and competing with this Alabama fan is 2 UM who had an interesting choice of jersey. It's a husband with on the back of his UM jersey. It says "I blank in peace." Yeah. And then his wife, I assume it's his wife, sitting next to him.
Yeah, you don't know that.
Her jersey just says "peace."
That's
As
a
if
spicy dill pickle peanut if I've ever
she's
seen
the
one.
peace. You get it. So these are our 2.
Chris, I can't tell you how poor a spokesman we have when you're doing the spokesmaning.
Last time he got a sheet steal out of this, so who knows what he can get out of this.
Well, I actually read the read was fine. It was just the setup could have been better.
It was the you that was not fine.
So who's the nuttiest fan? Vote at our Instagram. I'm voting for the UM fan.
Okay, excellent work by you, professional as always. Let's get to a real professional, Nick Wright. He has issues and has had issues with Pablo Torre. We haven't
just always doing this, Dan. You're just fanning the flames. Can I say something about your new sponsor? It's positive. It's not negative. I go to baseball games, and these days, you know what happens? You buy a bag of peanuts, and they're unsalted, like they're plain. Like, because the whole idea of the peanut is you put it in your mouth, you crack the shell, you spit the shell out, but it's a lot of flavors in theory. Back when we were a proper country, that's what it was. Go to a Yankee game up here, I don't know, Steinbrenners are saving money on salt. It's just it's a tasteless shell. So I don't know the name of your sponsor, and I don't have any points on the package, but that sounds like a wonderful product that I will now try because I like the dill pickle, spicy, it all sounds good. Now you want to talk about Pablo Torre's tweets? I don't care.
Not yet.
I still want to talk about peanuts. Nick, I have a question for you. So if somebody who eats the shell of the peanut, like just the whole thing, like if it was just one shot, insane or not insane? I have a buddy that eats it
I think
way.
he's saying the whole shell, isn't he? I've done that. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you eat the whole shell when you eat
so
a
I
shelled
don't.
peanut?
You can't do that.
I don't. So I know what you're talking about.
Tony.
But no, I know Tony. I know his name. But that's not what I do. But you put the peanut, again, I'm risking getting memed here, but that's okay. You put the whole peanut in your mouth, you crack it open with your molars, you then, if depending on how dexterous your mouth is, you can then, bifurcate the actual peanut and the shell. You spit out the shell.
Like a sunflower seed.
Like a sunflower. Yes, exactly. Part of that is the delicious coating of the shell.
Ridiculous.
Which in today's days are gone. Now, Tony's saying his buddy just goes one-shotter. But I know some people that eat the apple core. Like, I almost feel like it is either a sign of lack of, like, it feels very cavemanish.
He's an
which
animal.
is not a negative. Yeah, it just feels like, you know what? If things ever really go south and we're all on our own, that guy probably has a slightly greater chance of survival. Like he hasn't evolved to contemporary luxury,
That's
which
fair.
is probably positive.
Nick, when you crack a peanut, do you like peel off the skin on it? Because I've read
No.
that it's actually beneficial to you health-wise if you eat the skin.
Yeah, no, you got to eat the. Yeah, I mean, it's not a pomegranate. Like we're at a baseball game drinking beers. Like we're not trying to be dainty. Speaking of dainty, put this on the poll. Has Pablo Torre eaten one single peanut in the last 30 years? I'll say no.
Why? What are you doing there?
What are you implying?
It's just come on. Just feel like
I agree with him though.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It just if we're like Tony's friend who eats the entire peanut with shell, I have a visual image of him, and I feel like I know that guy a bit, and I feel like that guy's not hanging out with Pablo. That's all I'm saying.
He's definitely not.
Yeah. Am I right? All I know is he eats the whole peanut with the shell. That's all I know. And so, yeah, that's it.
We're at a baseball game together, and we're just eating, and he's like 3 people down. So we start looking, and then all of a sudden, the entire bag is gone, but we don't see peanut shells anywhere. And we're like, dude, what did you do with all the peanut shells? He's like, that's how I eat
That's
them.
a vomit.
Oh, come on.
Nick, you remember a couple years ago when pistachios had a moment that you just saw a bunch of commercials for pistachios, and it was just like this green nut, and you're like, "What is this company?" It's like,
Fantastic.
no, it's just pistachios.
It's just the farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when we were growing up, the milk lobby was like, we got to put a lot of money into endorsements. And evidently, again, for the 5th time, and this one complimentary to bring up Pablo, I didn't know there was a tree lobby. I didn't know they had marketing budgets. I didn't know any of this, but I do now.
Well, pistachio seems like a Pablo type of nut. If there's not a classic nut, but he has like the higher end nuts.
No, macadamia nut would be the way that Pablo goes. You don't no messiness.
Dan, that's why you're the GOAT. Correct. You just nailed it. That is absolutely correct. Macadamia nut is. If there is a higher draft pick of the exact idea that I'm trying clumsily to convey, I can't think of it. Macadamia nut is correct. And probably if he were on here, he'd be like, did you know that's actually not a nut? Be like, shut up, man. It's a legume.
It's a legume.
It's a legume. No, like, really? Sorry.
I just tried it Tony's friend's way, in the way that Dan says he has occasionally done this. Like a circus elephant.
Yes.
I gotta say, for like a one-off, not terrible.
I like changing the texture.
Let me take it for a walk.
It's not gross. You can if you eat 20 of them and you break it up with the entire salty flavor of the shell as well, with the right chosen shells, that's not a terrible decision. It's not.
At the very least, you have to tongue the shell because that's where the salt is.
Hey, yo.
You tongue the shell.
Well,
you gave me spicy dill.
You brought us, Greg Cody, you brought us full circle. This is what I'm saying. If you ever come to New York City during baseball season, I'll take you to a Yankee game, buy you a bag of peanuts. That's gross, Chris. And what you'll notice is there's no salt on the shell, which is a bummer.
It's totally unheard of. That's crazy.
Yes. That's
not
what I
terrible.
That's obscene.
It's not
These-
terrible.
Shout out to Kiki.
That's how good these Hampton Farms peanuts are. You can eat
What
them
a
shell and all.
I feel like this is the greatest endorsement ever. We're just doing 10 minutes on this product, and I don't even have any. You should mail me some at least.
Macadamia nuts are coming back as a result for the most opulent nut that is available. However, pine nuts
That's
are
what I'm talking about.
Pine nuts are listed as more expensive than macadamia, where pine nuts range from about $22.03 to $51.61 per pound.
No way, pine nuts. Macadamia nuts are the most expensive nuts.
Well, hold on. Can I ask you a question, Dan? Because even though I've sadly never in person met your father, and he's, an older Cuban engineer, and my dad's an older Italian fireman, I feel like they're similar. Did you, growing up in a room of your house, have, like, at not necessarily at all times, certainly around the holidays, just a bowl of like walnuts and the heart,
the cracker,
and with and then the like lobster cracker thing sitting there that occasionally your father might, just to remind you, if push comes to shove, who's in charge, break the walnut in his hand.
Nobody
just
ate
to
those.
show you he could. Nobody ate them, but they were always out. They were available, and it felt like it was an intimidation thing. At least my dad's one of the greatest men I've ever known, but it feels, I bet bet it was similar for you growing up.
Yo,
That's my
Greg's
guess.
choking.
Greg,
Is
can
it?
we get you some water? He's having some trouble with the
Choking
simple
on D's.
eating of.
No, these are. I'm eating the hot ones. Best nut I've ever had. These
Wow.
are Farms nuts. They're so good. Wow.
Has anyone ever practically used a nutcracker? They're simply decorative, right? Like no one actually goes and like, I need
The
a new
nuts
nutcracker.
he's talking
and
about, you need 'em.
Yeah, but you're like, my
Yeah.
nutcracker is no longer working.
Unless your dad's a firefighter who breaks them with his bare hands to
Hand,
intimidate
broke
people.
with his hand. Yeah, just to let people know who's boss. That's right.
We didn't have much money, so the greatest extravagance that we had in our childhood was my father taking us to Sears, of all places, to go to the place where they had the hot nuts. And he would go grab a few of them, and he was pretty famous for just stealing stuff and walking around the grocery store eating it without
eating
paying
it?
for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And daring someone to say something to him
My
about
dad
it.
did the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, they're just samples.
I see people doing that all the time with grapes as well as nuts.
Nick, I want to talk to you about an assortment of football things, but we have a
Please.
Tyreek Hill problem in Miami. You know him pretty well and followed him plenty when he was in Kansas City, where the Chiefs were smart enough to not allow him to talk in public very often in front of microphones. What can you tell me about what it is you're seeing from Tyreek Hill, who his last year in Kansas City, he was saying we're going to win 7 or 8 championships in a row. He doesn't know how to lose, and now he's not a captain for the Dolphins, and everyone assumes he'll be traded before the end of the year because if they start losing, he's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree he's going to be traded because I don't know if they're going to pull the ripcord before the trade deadline. I do know that I'm very excited for Kansas City Chief in 2026 Tyreek Hill. And that has been written for the last couple of years now. This is not a defense of Tyreek Hill, okay? But the Tyreek Hill and the Dolphin situation, it is analogous, and this is going to be awkward and uncomfortable, but it is, I think, the right analogy. If you are in a long-term serious relationship, and somebody cheats, you have a fork in the road moment where you must decide, after a set period of time, am I over it or am I not? And if I'm over it, then it's done with. We will move forward. It will not be consistently brought up. You won't be 6 months later in a fight dropped on you. And if you're not over it, then you need to, and you're not going to be able to get over it, you need to break up. The every week Tua and the team and being like, yeah, Tyreek's got to earn back our trust. Man, Tyreek sure was an ass at the end of last year, up to and including them being the only team in the league where the hands down unquestioned best player isn't a captain after being a captain the last 2 years. It's a half measure. And so I think that's foolish. I think that what Tyreek did at the end of the year was awful. And if the Dolphins wanted to sever ties at that time, so be it.
They can't.
But
They can't,
right,
Nick. They can't.
Right. So then you just gotta grin and bear it. Then the public message needs to be, we don't listen to Tyreek. He says a bunch of crazy stuff. The guy runs super fast and is a great receiver, and we love him. And what you can't do is be like, we don't want you, we don't trust you, but we need you. That's not going to work. We all know that's not going to work. So I just feel like this is a half measure that I'm not a fan of. I'm also curious for you guys. I don't know what would be more interesting because I think either of these is possible. Do you think it's on the board that Tyreek was voted a captain and Mike McDaniel was like, nope, cook the book?
That's what I said.
It was just theorized earlier in the show today that nobody would ever. It's the perfect crime.
Let me run another theory by you, Nick. So I think that maybe Tyreek comes in and he's feeling some remorse for how he's handled situations. And he said, you know what, guys? I don't want to be a captain this year. And he showed that he really is a true leader and team captain by removing himself from the ability to be a team captain, showing both maturity and growth.
Yes, and if that happened, then you know what I do to really put a nail in the coffin of this story? When I'm Mike McDaniel announcing the captains, I announce all of them, and then I say, and one more. Back. Tyreek Hill. And everyone claps like, yeah, Ty. Because here's the thing. Like, and this is, there would be nothing, and again, I don't think this happened, and this is unfair to Tua, but it is a fun thought exercise. What if Mike McDaniel's counting the votes, and he's like, we got a problem on our hands, boys. Tyreek got more votes than Tua. Like, what we can't do is have that be the situation. Now, he said it was overwhelming for the 6 guys who got it, and that's fine. I think Tyreek was never a captain with Kansas City, which that's the other way to go is be like, this guy, he does a lot of things. Leadership's not one of them, so we're never going to put that on his plate. But when he's been the captain the previous 2 years, this is a little messy, in my opinion.
Hard Knocks concluded last night. It's the most boring Hard Knocks season ever. I know how you feel about the Bills. Did you watch any of that?
I have not watched Hard Knocks the last couple of years. And when you say you know how I feel about the Bills, you mean the only person in sports media who's been right about them every single year the last 5 years, including last year when people said, actually it's a rebuilding year. And old Bills troll, Bills hater Nick Wright was like, nope, they're going to be in the AFC Championship game right again. And I actually think that's going to happen again this year. I did not see it. I did see Sean McDermott yesterday in his annual, maybe even semi-annual at this point, press conference where he's like, people don't understand what great human beings live in Western New York and like how amazing our fans are, and doing that whole thing because there is some weird monopoly on like Americana based inversely correlated to how awesome your city is. And so he then said twice, he was like, I'm so sick of hearing about the Bills in the Super Bowls. They made 4 straight Super Bowls. That'll never happen again. Oh, really, sir? Well, that's interesting, because the team that kicks your teeth in every playoffs has made 3 straight. That feels to me like a Freudian guarantee that the Chiefs aren't making the Super Bowl. Noted. I haven't noted alongside all of the nonsense I've heard about the defining dynasty of the defining sport of our time. And no one ever again will make 4 straight Super Bowls, unless, of course, the Chiefs do what they do every year, which is make the Super Bowl.
In terms of hurt for you personally, where you invest your mouth and your heart, last year's loss in the Super Bowl for you, and money, yes, and money. Your feelings when you lost the Super Bowl last year to Philadelphia and loudly had proclaimed that you wouldn't lose, where did that one rank in terms of after it's over, you're actually hurting?
Worst sports loss of my life, Dan. Thanks for bringing it up on the eve of the new season.
Is it the worst? It's the worst sports loss of your life?
Just financially?
I hit for the trifecta. Financially, professionally, emotionally, all of it. I'm a max pleasure, max pain guy. I know Dan likes the trials and travails of my, financial gain and ruin, so I'll tell you guys a fun little one, then I'll get to the real emotion of it. I had obviously made a lot of bets before the year and during the year, Chiefs future bets. I also am in a very, it's kind of convoluted, but it is a gambling, what I will call consortium, where future bets are traded like stocks, and you can be like, hey, I'll give you 100 shares of the Chiefs for 200 shares of the Lions, and doesn't matter. Moral of the story is, going into that Super Bowl, because I'm such a sharp gambler, I was in a position where if the Chiefs lost the game, I lost less than $10,000. But if they won the game, I won close to 80 because of all the swaps and trades I'd made. So for a normal person, that would be the action. But I'm like, I can't not bet the actual game too. So Chiefs minus 2.5. Give me a lot of that. They're going to win by a field goal, then they got curb stomped. So that wasn't great. The reason it's the worst sports loss of my life, Dan, is multifold. One is pre-Mahomes. the Chiefs never played in big games. I heard my dear friend and mentor Colin Cowherd say Patrick Mahomes got dropped into the greatest situation any player had ever been in. The Kansas City Chiefs, in the 30 years before Patrick Mahomes had gotten there, won one playoff game. In the 50 years before he had gotten there, they'd been to one conference championship game. In the 7 years since he's been there, they've been to 7 straight and 5 Super Bowls. But that's neither here nor there. It was emotionally devastating because they entered that day with the opportunity to become the greatest team in the history of American team sports, and that's now gone. Like, if you win 3 straight Super Bowls, and get to win 4 out of 5, or I'm sorry, it would have been 4 out of 6, and all of it, you're just minted. And I think that they're ever going to have a chance to win one game, be the greatest team of all time? That'll probably never happen again. So, yeah, that's why it was devastating on all fronts. Luckily, in 30 hours, that's last year. And last year might as well be 100 years ago. We're into 2025.
What are you excited about this season beyond the Chiefs?
Oh, so much. I'm excited about the annual tradition of it's not Lamar's fault. Look at the EPA per play. I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about the cope that we're going to have in late January when Lamar either wins another MVP or comes close to it. And I listen to all the smartest football people I know explain to me how he's actually playing the quarterback position at the highest level ever. And if you look at all of his interceptions last year when there were only 4, 3 of them actually weren't his fault. He solved it. And then when once again he plays one of his worst games of the year in the playoffs, they're like, sample size, you moron. You think the results matter? You idiot, you Neanderthal. You think there's such a thing as a big game quarterback? Haven't you seen the Ravens DVOA? I'm excited for that. I'm excited for what I think could be a monster year from Baker Mayfield and a team that I think is going to make the Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am very excited about that. And I am also excited to see what the rationale come around week 14 when Kansas City is about to clinch the AFC West, how all the folks who were like, well, listen, I know Mahomes is great, but have you seen Bo Nix, what they're saying? Because there is no hotter take out there on the sports marketplace than Bo Nix is going to be the guy that dethrones the greatest quarterback of all time, and that's going to age quite poorly.
You couldn't help yourself. You couldn't help yourself, though. I asked you non-Chiefs division, and you always bring it back to the Chiefs. You cannot have an interest that doesn't somehow involve the Chiefs. I asked you non-Chiefs division.
It's 1938. Dan's hosting a physics talk show, and he's like, hey, non-Einstein, tell me what you want. And then you end up referencing somebody, and he's like, you rube. Where's Oppenheimer when you need him? I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right. I do think that that in the 2020s, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are the main character of the movie, and everyone else is supporting actors in their film.
I don't like your hostility, and I think it's born just because Pablo's having a big morning.
Big morning.
I think that's what the problem is. That you're just
big morning.
That Pablo's having a big morning, and you hate it, and there's nothing you can.
I don't hate it. That's the thing. I think I really legitimately respect and I think important niche he's carved out. And I mean, there's no other way to in 6. Do you know how groundbreaking your work has to be to in 6 months become, according to Time Magazine, a more influential podcaster than Joe Rogan or Dan Le Batard? I mean, those guys have been working at it for 30 years or 20 years. And listen, here's the deal. I want to root for Pablo. But then occasionally things like his name being in the mini crossword and him tweeting it, okay, fine, I'd probably do the same thing, but then also tagging in the picture the Peabody Awards makes it to where I just can't, I just can't see that exist and not react. Like, it's, again, I'm happy for the guy, I suppose. And the work he's doing is, in our silly cartoon world, quite important. And I do like the fact that he's actually getting the documents and doing journalism. I don't know, you know, I haven't followed up on the Malik Beasley expose because I thought he had him dead to rights, and then I guess the feds disagree. I don't know. I actually tend to side with Pablo on it. So there's a lot of these things that I think are relevant and good. But then, like, again, there was a moment in time where Pablo is doing the mini crossword. He sees his name, and he's like, this is awesome. And then he's like, I should screenshot it. And then he's like, I shouldn't just text this to my mom or my friends. I should tweet it. And then right before he hit send, he was like, anybody I should tag? Should I tag the New York Times? No. Everyone knows it's Times. What if I tag the Peabody Award? That's just, I'm sorry, that's hilarious. That is objectively hilarious, and I can't get over it. I just can't.
You're not wrong. I mean,
thank you.
I love Pablo, but that was worth lampooning. That is worth, yes.
Also worth lampooning is that he joined us to talk about his story today from the Harvard Club. But what did you think about the actual story? What was your reaction to reading some of the details you've read on what you'd agree would be the biggest sports story of our day? Yes, before football starts?
It's the most important sports story of the day. Now, first things first, just got expanded, so it's 3 hours long. I'm not sure if we have quite enough time in those 3 hours to talk about Kawhi Leonard on the eve of football, but if we get to a fourth hour, I think we would have fit it in. Here, I mean, honestly, you're going to hate this answer, but my reaction is, these are the lengths the league has to go to prevent LeBron from getting 6 rings. It's just unbelievable. He was going to sign with the Lakers. They was going to have AD and Kawhi and rip off a whole bunch of them. And then they're like, we'll look the other way, pay him extra. He wants to be in LA. But we can't have that happen. So that was my first reaction. My second reaction is, it seems a little clumsy. Like, I in today's day and age, I would have thought there's easier ways for a multi-billionaire to slide a guy a few $1 million. Like, maybe Ballmer and Kawhi, if this is true, need to spend a little more time in the high-stakes gambling world. There's a lot of ways to transfer millions of dollars that don't involve notarized contracts with LLCs. Like, that seemed odd, but I'm impressed. I'm impressed that they got the info. I do think it's noteworthy. My guess is this gets a little swept under the rug, but anytime you can include in your media that cool, like, voice distorter thing, it's a win. Like, I'm a big fan of that. And if we were to stack up all of the instances someone was like, I need the face and voice distorter, I don't know where whistle blowing on Kawhi Leonard's extra money ranks on it, but it's, you know, that is I think charming as well.
I'm surprised to hear you say, that you're underwhelmed as you are by what might be the ramifications of this, so it doesn't make your 3 hours of conversation today, because I do believe whatever you imagine the penalties are going to be here, if I gave you the penalties today, there would be no circumstance under which you would tell me that's not a story you're talking about.
Oh, so that's actually, if you guys all pull back the curtain a bit, that's actually one of the reasons that I don't think we're going to talk about it today on the show. To me, it goes one of two ways. Either the NBA turns a blind eye, in which case it's a story, but like what it's a better written article, long form podcast thing than 7-minute television segment, or there's real penalties. And if there's real penalties, then we'll have obviously ample time to talk about it. I would set the over under at penalty for this at 1.5 second round picks. And I would probably take the under, because my guess is this is not a shot at the story or the reporting at all. This is more about the league. My guess is it's just easier for them to be like we got to kind of do nothing, because the real penalty, it feels like a Max Min situation. The real penalty would be way, way, way worse than what happened to Joe Smith or the Timberwolves. Is it Joe Smith?
Yes,
Do I have that right?
yes.
Yeah, the Timberwolves with Joe Smith. And I don't do we think the NBA wants to just generationally kneecap the Clippers and that new arena?
Not the
and
NBA,
Los
but the
Angeles?
other owners. I believe the other owners will be pissed off enough about this. And what you said, which is the Lakers could have had him and were going to have him, and the Clippers evidently cheated in order to get him.
Or does Nick think that the other owners are like, damn it, they're on to our circumvention?
Right.
Well, that's there. I want to be very careful with this, okay? And so careful that I don't even want to say the names.
Go on.
There was a very unique thing that happened with one of the league's absolute super marquee franchises and super marquee players like 7 years ago, where a player who was a clear max player, arguably one of the very, very best players in the league, took less money on an extension than he could have. And it was like $6 million less than he could have gotten. And it saved the team $0 in cap space. They were over the cap, whatever. But it saved the owner like, $30 million, call it, in luxury tax, okay? But it didn't help the team on the court at all. There was no competitive reason to do it. It was, a $100 millionaire player losing out on $6 million, so the owner, who's a multi-billionaire, could save 30. And it never made sense. And the only way that, to me, ever made sense was if the owner was like, hey, man, rather than me send the league office $30 million to pay you $6, here's a flash drive that's got $10 million in crypto on it. I'm going to leave that on the table, and you figure out whatever contract you want. Like, I always felt like that specific instance was so illogical that there had to be like okay, we'll make you whole on the back end. Maybe it wasn't as simple as the, crypto drive, but something. And so I wonder how prevalent things similar to this are, just maybe not as ham-handed as a no-show contract.
Can you guys look up for me some of the information on Anthony Carter with the Heat? Because I remember something happened with him where...
I remember it very well.
Okay, tell Nick the details on this, because I assumed that the Heat had some sort of side deal because
That's
of
what I always thought.
what Anthony Carter and his agent ended up doing.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, we're talking back, this is 2004, and Anthony Carter had a player option, which his agent forgot to opt into. The money that the Heat now didn't have to pay him allowed them to sign Lamar Odom, and Anthony Carter ended up missing out on, back then, what was a pretty significant amount of money, and it really benefited the Heat. And I always thought, because I don't think even Anthony Carter fired his agent after it. I was like, he's being made whole somewhere.
Was that Bill
along the
Duffy? Was that the agent? Like, it's an agent who would never make that mistake. Was that Bill Duffy? Like, but you think this is a ho-hummer that the NBA is just going to skip past?
Because I poked fun at Pablo, I don't want to be misconstrued here. I do not think this is a ho-hum story. I think this is legitimately excellent journalism. I think it seems like they've got him dead to rights. I think it is the path of least resistance is to find a way to skip past it. I didn't think it was, and again, people get very, I'll try to be careful. I didn't think it was a ho-hummer when it was like, hey, crazy thing. Maybe the greatest baseball player ever, certainly of our generation, his translator has simply the greatest credit limit of any gambler in America. Oh, okay. No problem. Nothing to see here. And some, that never, and again, maybe this is because I'm very fluent in like legitimate kind of high stakes gambling worlds. That's the type of credit limit that really can only be extended to someone who is known to have tens of millions of dollars. And I didn't now again, maybe the translator just had the worst bookie and they just, maybe they thought he's backstopped. I don't know. That to me felt like it doesn't quite make sense to me. But the easiest thing for everyone was to be like, that guy is a gambling addict. That guy's a gambling addict with a very irresponsible bookmaker. It's like, okay. Like that struck me as odd. And so sometimes I think on these things, the path of least resistance is the path people go.
He is the host of What's Right with Nick Wright. He's on FS1's First Things First. You can watch him on First Things First weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on FS1. We have less than 50 seconds left. Your answer or rebuttal to your nemesis Mina Kimes claiming that you fraudulently had two different number one teams, that you told her the Ravens are the best team in the NFL, and then months later you went on with Dan Patrick and said the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL.
Okay,
wow,
well,
controversy.
Mina sets up her show where she gives you a binary choice. She says, I think it was Eagles or Ravens. I could only pick one of them. And so Mina and I almost have to be clear on this because my bosses and her friends thought we really had a real beef. And so I actually adore Mina, and she's obviously much, much smarter about, the most boring parts of football than me. I can kind of just see the actual landscape of the league better. But I had no choice there, and Mina cannot question my take integrity. There's a lot of things. You can make fun of my nose. You can say I might have a gambling problem. You can question how I, got the platform that I did. All those things, you can call me outright obnoxious. That's fine. Do not question my commitment to take integrity in any circumstance. So that's what happened. Obviously, I think the Chiefs are the best team in the league. But again, I'm not as smart as the folks that are like, actually, if you look at adjusted EPA over a 5-year stretch, the Ravens are historically great. And the playoffs, they don't really matter. By the way, subscribe to the podcast, please. You guys listeners, I would appreciate it. What's Right with Nick Wright? Thank you.
It is great, and he does it with his son. And he said we can make fun of his nose. He said we can make fun of his nose.
Dan, I have something better than that.
It's not germane to the conversation.
Dan, I have something better than that. Lewis, can you pull up? He met somebody that is very famous online, and I was very excited to see this collaboration. Once we get it on the screen, it's going to be exciting. Nick, you met Cougine.
Oh, this
looking
is good.
into a mirror. You and
Cougine. Me and Cougine. This was a good bit. This was a good bit we did.
Oh my
me
God.
And Cougine. Yeah. Me and Cougine. That was a good bit. Yeah.
Again, What's Right with Nick Wright. He does it with his son. It's different, and he's allowing us to make fun of his nose. So there it is. He said it is casting indeed a shadow on his teeth.
Casting a shadow on your teeth.
Nick, it's good. It's good to see you. We'll talk to you soon.
Send me some of those peanuts. See you guys.
We'll talk
Bye.
to you soon.
Take care. Brush your hair.
Against the spread. Against the spread. Against the Spread is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Roy, take it away.
All right, we got Yankees at Astros tonight. The Yankees have won 8 out of the last 9 games. They have covered the run line in Houston in the last 9 games against the Astros in Houston, and they are 54-33 against the spread on the road after playing the previous day. So, go with the Yankees. They are the favorites tonight. Run the half against the spread.
All right. The NFL, Dan, starts tomorrow. Did you know that? You finally figured it out. We got Thursday Night Football. The reigning champs, Philadelphia Eagles, are playing against the Dallas Cowboys. Again, it's at Philly, but 8.5 is the spread. Dallas is going to be a better team this year than they were last year. Obviously, they didn't have Dak for a bunch, but I think 8.5 points early, the first game of the season, is way too many points. I think the Cowboys offense is going to be a lot better than it was last year. Added George Pickens. They don't really have a running game. Dak Prescott's going to throw about 67 times with Brian Schottenheimer. Give me the 8.5 with the Cowboys. They're not going to win, but they're going to cover, Dano, just like great teams do. I guess it's right.
One of the things that I didn't mention in all of the Micah Parsons talk that we did and why it is that Dallas did the inexplicable thing. You guys want to guess how many years Dak Prescott has been in the league? Anybody? Anybody want to guess how many years?
4.
9. 10.
Yeah, 9.
Rookie year.
10 years he's been in the league.
You were close, Chris.
He's not going to get any better, and they've got two teams at the top of the division who've got young quarterbacks who are, with reps, going to get better. That's part of the problem that they're facing in Dallas.
He's pretty good right now.
But he's not going to get any better, and the guys that are ahead of him in the division but behind him in age are going to get better. Dak Prescott is past his prime.
And he makes a lot more money than those quarterbacks.
I don't, that's right. That's the other thing. I don't even mean it as an insult. I just mean it's a problem that Dallas has.
He could have a career year this year, though. Like, this could be the year with George Pickens, with CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson. Again, lack of a running game. Like, he could be throwing the ball
big time
500 times a game.
And it's also going to be 25 interceptions if he's doing
that kind of thing.
Juju, let's get to some of the stuff we had on the show today. What were your thoughts on what Nick Wright had to say about Tyreek Hill?
Yes, sir, man. Thank y'all for having me. I got to remind people that, you know what I mean, Tyreek, that's my cousin, so a lot of this stuff be hitting me certain ways. But I agree with Nick Wright, man. It goes for, like, relationships, whether friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, and wife. Bro, if you're going to forgive somebody, you got to forgive them. If you chose to bring this man back, then, hey, man, this is a brand new year. We can't still be referring back to whenever we did you wrong. You say you forgive me. Now treat me as the human being that I am. You feel me? So I agree with Brother Nick on that issue.
What cousin is he of yours? How distant? How close?
It's just down the line.
It's not semantics.
Okay. Moving on.
It's down the street, around the corner.
Cuban cousins, Dan.
I felt like we got a good and healthy amount of Greg Cody during the first 3 hours of the show, but he disappeared there during the Nick Wright episode.
Yeah, what happened?
And any time that Greg Cody is around, we want to maximize Greg Cody. What did you think of Greg Cody's performance today, Juju?
Yes, sir. The real DBL1 from YouTube today says, I now understand why Juju was such a huge Greg fan. Where is my tattoo artist? And I agree, bro. Today, Greg Cody, you were on a roll. Magnificent. I would pay to listen to an entire podcast of baby Greg Cody just does stuff, whatever you do, bro. Hearing that voice was so amazing. I think I would pay for that, bro.
That was Greg?
Thank you. Juju, thank you very much.
Kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about Pablo's appearance on the show? Pablo joining us from the Harvard Club to have the big story in sports that Nick Wright says he won't talk about on his show today.
Right. I think that Pablo has reached a certain status and he has bothered a specific type of person that we can no longer say his whereabouts live on air. Like, we got to protect my boy. He got some powerful people that he rubbing elbows with these days. And so I think we should stay away from letting folks know exactly where to find Pablo if we can.
Jude, to that point, so we got an email, company-wide email, like, hey, this is what the story's going to be. And I woke up at like 5 in the morning. Baby was crying. So put her back to sleep finally. And I look at the story, and then I keep reading, and I'm like, okay, Kawhi Leonard, circumvent the cap. I'm like, they're going to kill him one day. Respectfully. But they're going to kill him
It'll
one
be
day.
a respectful murder.
I mean, it's like, he's asking for it.
At this point, Dan, like, you got to do something or you're an accessory, you know?
Wow.
Uh-oh.
That show doesn't cost enough. You need me to buy $1,000 a day worth of security for him, like we did when we were at the Clevelander after leaving ESPN.
He should at least be holding a piece when he's walking around.
Can't do that.
Just wait till the next episode.
So you want Pablo Torre strapped?
Has he ever been?
What a great spin-off series.
Let's keep working on that Pablo imaging. We need to do a little bit better for when a Pablo drops, okay? When he drops a Pablo.
On the back of my neck. I hate
Again,
it.
a reminder to the audience, 3:30 in the afternoon today Eastern, Pablo will be advancing this story with Amin, Sampson, and others on YouTube.
If he's still with
If
us.
no one harms him because I haven't hired security or enough security in time.
Yes. Also, one of the things that Pablo reminded me of with this story of just how heavy-handed sometimes these owners could be. It's a quote from Dominique Foxworth. He tweeted this about a month and a half, 2 months ago about the CBA. He said, one of the things I've learned from CBA negotiations is they aren't smarter than us. I think we sometimes are victims of having this belief that because these people have made it to the top of their profession, that they are as good as what they do as we are at what we do. They aren't. And so I think this is a great reminder to what my boy Dominique said. He went on a little bit more about the CBA, but yeah, bro, Steve Ballmer, all these folks, Jerry Jones, man, they just like us making these decisions and sometimes fall straight on their face.
He said he actually said that he had that realization while negotiating with Jerry Jones. The realization, this person's not actually smarter than I am. Why did I think this person was smarter than I am?
Right. Also, salute to the fans of the show today. I'm going to stay on this topic right now just because I never have a chance to do this. Casey Braun, also Ryan Gully Branchard from Twitter. They always send me great jerseys, you feel me, since I got my jersey stolen in the airport. But a brother named Gabe Renizo, salute to whoever you are. He sent me a quality Dominique Foxworth jersey, bro, in the mail. I got to give this brother a shout out because it's one of the best jerseys I ever got in my entire life. Also, he sent, come on, man. You got to know, man. Andrew Hawkins, I see you, bro. Salute to Gabe Renizo. Salute to Gabe Renizo. Salute to you, brother.
That's Rage Against Twitter. That's the Gabe that helps us with our suey. Shout out to that Gabe.
Bruh, that brother sent me two of the best jerseys I done had, man. Salute to Gabe. Wow. You got to know.
At LeBatard Show is how it is. You vote on the polls. Let's update some polls. Juju, what do you have for us today?
Yes, sir. Did Mike McDaniel rig the Dolphins captain vote? 86% of the audience says yes, he did.
It's possible.
Also, rest in peace to Stream East. Man, lost a good one today.
R.I.P. The MMA fans knew.
Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly.
Does everyone like coffee? 61% of the audience says no, they do not.
No.
Me neither. Stuff poop. Did you ever think that Mark Whipple was going to be the next big thing? 88% of the audience says no, they did not.
Oh, those are liars.
Also, take the time right now to promote DLS Hoops right now. I got a brand new co-host, man, a permanent co-host now. The show is finna go from 0 to at least around 27. So please, DLS Hoops, check us out. Do you eat the whole shell when you eat a peanut? 89% of the audience says no, they do not.
Of course not.
11% though. The Kiki way.
Right. And the last poll, has Pablo Torre eaten one single peanut in the last 30 years? Pablo. 65% of the audience says no, he has not. And those are your polls.
Close.
Any last thoughts here, Cody? The Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody is out now. Any last thoughts? We didn't promote that today, and I know you were here only because you want that promotion.
Thank you for the mention of my podcast. Go inside the PFPI Fantasy Draft exclusively on the Greg Cody Show podcast. Juju was in.
Gigi's mom's best friend
was in one of our other leagues, and we're happy about that. How about that?
Yes, sir.
All
Come
right.
on, man.
That's right. Let's go.
Greg,
with the popularity and success of all these leagues, have you ever considered having a preseason gala as well?
You know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to bring that up at the next board meeting.
It's fine.
No, let's do that.
The
That's
next
what a
board
great
meeting,
idea.
you're spelling that BORED because of how your family members react.